You're watching LEX News on ABC 36.
Welcome back into Good Afternoon Kentucky. I'm Doug High. We appreciate you staying with us this hour. We are trying to stay weather aware. It's vital. And we're going to send things over to Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck right now. Tej, you take, it's your program. Take as long as you need to keep folks safe.
Yeah, and we set the table the last couple of days on this, and unfortunately, it's unfortunate when things work out as anticipated, but that appears to be the case. Notice a very intense squall line of thunderstorms that is crossing the Ohio River out of southeastern Indiana and southern Ohio into northern Kentucky, and it's one of those scenarios where generally, we're looking at a damaging wind threat, and we're already getting a number of wind damage reports out of this line as it has moved through the Louisville metro area. But we talked about the little individual cells within the line that could produce potentially a few tornadoes. We already had a confirmed tornado up in southern Ohio, southeast or southwest of Amelia, just on the other side of the river from Campbell County. And you see here our meso data here, the cone indicating the rotation within this cell that is over the northeastern part of Owen County and about to move into Grant County. I'm going to take the lightning data off of it, but they just literally, we've had a tornado warning for parts of Owen and into western Grant. That goes for about another 8 minutes until 3:45, and they just put out a new tornado warning, and that goes for eastern Grant County and into the western part of Pendleton County until 4:15. So if you're in Dry Ridge, if you're in Williamstown or eastward, around Morgan. Now, Falmouth in Pendleton County, you're not in it, but any of those communities, and of course some of the smaller ones as you run over toward Interstate 65 and also Corinth there in southern Grant County, any of those locations, you need to be in your safe space. Go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, go to an interior room, the lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom. You want to put as much real estate between yourself and the outside world. And again, just stay away from exterior windows and walls. Just given the fact that it's mid to late July and typically we don't have this kind of setup. It's kind of an out-of-season event. And again, the wind fields are just high enough to create that spin. And again, our meso data, the cone here indicating that it is showing that rotation. I do want to look at Wilmington's radar, and again, we've got our rotation detector, and where you see that bit of green and there's a little bit of a darker shading, that indicates that moderate to potentially strong rotation. Now, meteorologist Angie Regal is checking the weather chats from the National Weather Service, and so far, this has just been radar indicating. Looking at the velocity data, and what we're looking at here is, notice with the legend, anything in green is going toward the radar. The radar site is up here to the north in southwest Ohio out of Wilmington. Anything in red is going away from the radar. So using the telestrator here, this is what we look for, the signature on radar right in here. You get the greens and the reds right next to each other, and that indicates the potential of some rotation. So the Holbrook community there, and then running again down toward Corinth. It looks like this thing's eventually, if it holds together, it will cross Interstate 75 south of Williamstown and Dry Ridge between Corinth, just right after you come out of northern Scott County along Interstate 75 and running up into Grant County. So any of these areas, again, need to be in a safe space. And again, this is one that we're really going to watch. Now, so far it's just radar indicated. So we're going to go along and talk about some of the other potential weather that is going to move here into the bluegrass as we go through the remainder of the afternoon. But this is front and center, again, with this tornado warning. And just a heads up, the Berry community in northern Harrison County and down towards Cynthiana. Notice how this cell is kind of broken off from the rest of it that we've got back here in Henry and Owen counties. So I think it's got enough inflow. There's plenty of warm, moist, and unstable air. Our dew points, I'm going to show you those in a minute. They are really off the charts, even for this time of the year. The other part of it, very torrential rain and a lot of lightning strikes with it. So anywhere north of Lexington, especially right now, you need to be in a safe place. Now, the other part of this, although I'm actually going to go back to that cell because I've noticed Angie being on the weather chat over there. Notice how the polygon has now turned purple. That indicates it has now been officially confirmed by the Weather Service as a tornado on the ground. Did they say anything in the chat, Angie, at all? No, not much. They haven't said anything in the chat, but they clearly upgraded it to a confirmed tornado. Notice there you go, tornado warning confirmed for Grant County and for southwestern Pendleton County, and that goes until 4:15. So emphasizing this is not radar indicated. This is, again, on the ground, so you need to be in your safe shelter. Basement's best. If you don't have a basement, again, lowest level of your home. If you live in a mobile home, you need to have a sturdier structure nearby, hopefully, that you can go to. Obviously, we're very deep in the year. You know your safety plan. We talked about this over the last couple of days.
Next 25 minutes could be in northern Harrison County.
Yeah, and it could eventually impact northern Harrison County as well. So everything's there. In fact, I want to look at the meso skit data here. All right, the BTI is the Barron Tornado Index, which is a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being lowest, 10 being highest. About a 5.6. That's decent, but all that goes away, especially, again, when you've got, again, this thing being confirmed from the Weather Service here. So, again, looking at the actual shear, it's not technically off the charts. You see it's moderate, but nevertheless, I don't know whether it has come from either law enforcement or from Storm Spotter, but clearly this thing's potentially on the ground. In fact, I want to see if there's any kind of a debris signature, and what we look for here on the debris detector is obviously usually a little spot of blue or yellow that surrounds the red and the orange, and it's really not jumping out. Now I can switch over to Louisville's radar vantage point here. Let's go over to that one because it can actually see it as well and see if anything's picking up on the debris detector. There may be a little something there, but overall I think we're in pretty decent shape as far as the lack of anything being lofted, and that's what, again, the debris detector does. But I do want to go a little bit closer here and just kind of zoom in on some of the communities that are potentially affected by it. You see the reds and the greens side by side there. So again, the Holbrook community, which is there, it looks like in the western part of Grant County, it is right on top of you. So there's Williamstown. Again, if you've been up and down the I-75 corridor here, of course, you come up on Williamstown first and then eventually Dry Ridge here. A lot of traffic on I-75 here, and it looks like probably within the next 3 or 4 minutes, this thing is going to cross Interstate 75 and US 25 there between Corinth and Williamstown. So some of the smaller communities that need to be in a safe space in Grant County and then eventually over into Pendleton County. So Lawrenceville, the Kiefer area, Hensley Ford, and Holbrook, again, that rotation's right on top of you. But Cherry Grove, Mason, Cordova, Stringtown, Marcus, any of these smaller communities here, again, be in your safe place. Shelter, basement, lowest level, mobile home, obviously not where you want to be. You want to be in a sturdier structure. But that's the signature that we look for. The reds, away from the radar, which is off to the north, the greens going toward. You get these side by side, and that's where you end up with the potential tornado. And again, given the fact that you see the purple flashing polygon, red flashing polygon, that's a radar indicated tornado. A purple flashing polygon, that's been confirmed.
The Kentucky State Police Post 5 is reporting that a house may have been possibly destroyed in Owen County and others damaged in the same area, possibly along Stewart Ridge Road. The the location has not been 100% confirmed yet.
So this is the cell that came out of Owen County into Grant County. Angie was on the past half hour talking about, again, that tornado, possible tornado with that tornado warning that was back here. There's Owenton. This report of damage was back here across the eastern part of Owen County. So again, if you're just tuning in, you see the flashing purple polygon that is confirmed tornado warning for this cell here that is coming out of Holbrook in the western and southwestern part of Grant County. It does look like the possible rotation is going to bypass Dry Ridge and Williamstown, of course, the county seat and the two most heavily populated areas in Grant County. It's going to pass by just to your south. But any of those areas, and if you've run up the interstate, you know, between Corinth and Williamstown, there's a lot of open land there, so it's not overly populated, but if it's your neighborhood, obviously that's a big problem. So that's one of the reasons why we want to go a little bit closer here. And in addition to the rotation here, I think we've got some hail going on as well. You see the hail track in pink, and again, the purple, which we hope that we don't see as far as our polygon is concerned. That is for the confirmed tornadoes. So the National Weather Service out of Wilmington, which covers our northern Kentucky counties. Again, our algorithm, our rotation detector, just at this point, picking up moderate rotation, but want to zoom in closer so we can show you a couple of smaller communities. So Mason there, just to the east of I-75, Blanchett, Cordova, Stringtown, Cherry Grove, Heacon, Lawrenceville, Kiefer, any of these areas. And then farther to the east there, Marcus. I'll just kind of broaden this out. Don't have the radar data. What I'm showing you is our in-house rotation detector, and then the actual radar there, the greens and the reds side by side. There is your rotation right there. It is moving off to the southeast, and you see our SCIT data, which is the storm algorithm that's picking up on that. So this shows you the general direction that it is headed. Yeah, the confirmed tornado warning goes into Pendleton County, but then this is where it gets a little tricky, because Pendleton County and Grant County, Wilmington, Ohio, that's the National Weather Service office that covers those. Here in Harrison County, the Weather Service in Louisville covers Harrison County, so it'll be their call of whether they eventually extend this tornado warning off to the southeast. And I think just based on the fact that it has had some reports of some damage with it, if you look at the actual reflectivity, you got heavy rain, you got lightning, but it's potentially even rain wrapped there. So just something to keep in mind. I do want to broaden things out, kind of show you what's going on down here to the southwest, and we'll switch over to Louisville's radar, because that gives you a little better bead on what's happening with these storms that are on the south side of Metro Louisville. So we do have severe thunderstorm warnings out for Shelby County down into Spencer County around Taylorsville Lake. Already beginning to see some heavy rain. And again, I don't have the lightning data on. I'll click on it real quick here. You see the amount of lightning with all these storms, and the leading edge of this has the potential of producing 65 to even 70-mile-per-hour winds as it drops off to the southeast. So this thing's eventually going to run down toward the Bluegrass Parkway, so Bardstown, up toward Lawrenceburg, and eventually Versailles, the Lexington area as well. It's 3:50. Again, the confirmed tornado warning at this point still in effect, and still going until 4:15. So we got about another 25 minutes. And ironically, again, you see the meso here indicating that rotation. That's the algorithm picking up on a decent amount of rotation. It's getting a different look because Louisville's radar is obviously off to the west here, so it's definitely picking up on that. And again, with the storm algorithm, the BTI is 5.6. That's mid-range, but just generally as these things go, that's kind of a touch higher. So some of the communities impacted here in the short term. Cordova, 408, it's 350. So there's Cordova, there's Stringtown, there's Hinton, and Durbintown is over just inside the Harrison County border here. And depending on how this thing plays out, I highly suspect that the Weather Service eventually will stick out a tornado warning, if not radar indicated, depending on the damage reports potentially that we get from the Weather Service in Wilmington for parts of Harrison County. Barry there, you're in northern Harrison County. And so this thing, it's still drifting southeast, but notice that latest skid has it more so going due to the east, and I think that's one of the reasons that Wilmington kicked it into the southwestern part of Pendleton County here. Even though you are in the confirmed polygon here for the tornado warning, Dry Ridge and Williamstown, I think for the most part it's going to be just to your south. It's that area along the interstate there in between Williamstown and Corinth in Grant County where this, again, confirmed tornado per what the Weather Service has put out. And again, just looking at the overall rotation detector, it may be cycling a bit because it just doesn't appear to have an awful lot. And notice how our mesocone went away, so maybe that's showing a little bit of signs of weakening.
Tornado warning is coming for northern Scott County, not including Georgetown and Harrison County.
And there it is right there. So kind of resetting here, and I'll kind of pop it out just a little bit here so you get a bird's eye view. All right, here's Lexington down here. We're good. Now, I do want to let you know, because I've noticed since we've been talking about the tornado warning, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings out for Woodford County, it looks like, here until 4:45. Franklin County, Anderson County as well, and it goes all the way down to include Mercer County, parts of Washington County, Nelson County, Spencer. So I think what the Weather Service in Louisville is doing, just given the fact that these winds could be 65 to 70 miles per hour, they're giving a lot of lead time. I mean, that's nearly an hour from now. Again, as these storms come out of the Louisville metro area and drop to the southeast, that's a concern there. But front and center here, still have the confirmed tornado warning for parts of Grant and into southwestern Pendleton, but the new tornado warning, that's for Harrison County until 4:30, and just a small, here's the county line right there where my finger is, the black line. It's just a small part of Scott County. It does not include Sadieville. It does not include Georgetown. All that is passing off to your north. But just given, again, the shear and the possible rotation with this. So there's Grant, there's Pendleton, there's Harrison, and there's a small part of Scott County. So those are the areas that are under the tornado warning right now. Looking at the velocity data, I think I'm going to switch back over to Wilmington as well, because that seems to have a little better view on it. You see the reds and the greens side by side. Again, for Harrison County, it is just it's really just radar indicated at this point. Anything else, Angie, from Wilmington relative to any damage, any confirmation?
No, nothing else.
Nothing at all. So they're just kind of waiting to see how this thing plays out. So update here, this part of the cell, which is now east of Holbrook, just to the south of Williamstown in Grant County. It's about to cross Interstate 75. Again, checking the velocity data, it's not jumping out the way it was a few minutes ago. Notice how the reds and the greens, yeah, they're fairly close together, but I think it's indicating a little more broad circulation. So it may have been one of these cases, especially given the damage, although that last scan there, I'm going to use the telestrator here, it's this area, which is right over Interstate 75, right there, is next to US 25. That's where the possible rotation is. There's Williamstown, there's Corinth. So it's moving across basically the south central part of Grant County, and it's generally moving off to the east-southeast. So areas of Harrison County, again, your new tornado warning goes until 4:30. So you got about 35 minutes here as this possible and again, per Wilmington, confirmed tornado continues to work off to the southeast. So I want to zoom in a bit closer for some of the areas there. Barry, obviously, I mentioned that a little while ago in northwestern Harrison County. Garnet there as well, just to give you, get your bearings. Cynthiana is not in it. You're not inside the tornado warning polygon, but obviously you need to really keep an eye on this thing as it draws a little bit closer. Beyond the tornado threat, you got a lot of heavy rain. And again, I want to put the lightning data back on because you see the tremendous amount of lightning that is associated with this. Now, as this thing kind of joins together and becomes more of a cluster, the hope is that it maybe kind of cuts off the energy or some of the inflow that's coming into the storm, and it would have a tendency to weaken out a little bit, and we would transition more into a damaging wind threat. That's really the hope at this point. But just the fact that there have been reports of damage back here in eastern Owen County, I think that's one of the reasons why they elected to go ahead and upgrade this thing to a confirmed tornado for Grant and into Pendleton County. And we still got about 17, 18 minutes left until that expires. The other part of it, we got a little hail with these as well. So something to keep in mind. Nothing crazy, not overly large hail. I know there was a bit of a concern for that, but at this point, some of the hail back along the Ohio River there with some of the storms coming out of southern Indiana and crossing the river had some larger hail with them. But overall, the hail's going to be relatively small. It's really the potential winds in excess of 65, 70 miles per hour in addition to the possible tornado threat here. Going to switch back over to Louisville because, again, this stuff is starting to get into the metro area. So we've got those severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, Frankfort, Lawrenceburg, not quite down to Harrodsburg, but basically up the US 127 corridor, Salvisa, just south of the Anderson County line, McAfee there, again, that out there along US 27 before you get to Harrodsburg. That's pretty far out from the leading edge. It is finally beginning to rain on the north side of Lawrenceburg between Frankfort and Lawrenceburg. Heavy, heavy rain in Shelbyville, and then that stretches all the way back into the Louisville metro area. But the leading edge of this, again, has the potential of producing 60, 65, maybe even upwards of 70 mile per hour winds as it moves through the area. So let me just kind of broaden things out and give you a bird's eye view of what's going on. So Lexington, it looks like this stuff's going to be moving into the metro, or at least the heart of the city, probably within, I'd say, the next 30 to 45 minutes. Because what's happening is, as the front comes in, it's kind of fanning out and it's running kind of more parallel to the river, getting some isolated cells developing out across parts of western Kentucky. And the other part of that is, with not a whole lot of movement, especially around Louisville, that's when the flash flooding suddenly becomes of greater concern. Got a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings on the other side of the river from Mason County and from Lewis County. And ironically, this cell that is just severe thunderstorm warned now, that had a confirmed tornado just to the east and southeast of it has weakened. When you look at the radar here, and again, we're kind of in that zone between, Wilmington's and Louisville's, and almost it's getting far enough to the east where we could even tap into Jackson's if we wanted to. But we'll take a look at it relative to the radar site there in Wilmington up in southwest Ohio. So again, here are some of the communities impacted by this storm. The BTI is still at a 5.4, that's medium range. They haven't dropped the confirmed tornado tag just yet. Have you said anything else in the chat, Angie, about that?
No.
Have they changed it? Have they updated it? Because I did see a red polygon box that was within the confirmed tornado, so I didn't know whether they had downgraded it potentially or not. But nevertheless, whether they have or not, any of these communities that I name off here, go ahead, be prepared, be in a safe place. Cordova, it's about on top of you. We mentioned that within the last 15, 20 minutes. Marcus, Stringtown at 406, Durbintown at 410, Boyd, 412, Barry, and northwestern Harrison County, that's at 413. And then if it holds together around Cynthiana and, of course, Harrison County High School, that's coming up at about 425, 426. So that gives you a good 20, 25-minute lead time as this potential tornado and some rotation works out of southeastern Grant County. It may clip part of southwestern Pendleton County there, but it does look like it is going to definitely impact the northwestern sections of Harrison County here. Barry, Garnet, Oddville, Cynthiana. Again, you're not in the polygon, but better to be proactive, and obviously we've set the table over the last several days. I mean, we talked about as long ago as Friday that today could be an unusually active weather day by mid to late July standards. I mean, this kind of setup is more typical of what we see, say, April, May, and into the early part of June, and unfortunately, the activity this afternoon is kind of bearing that out. Let's look at our debris detector. And again, just nothing off the charts. Typically, when we've got a confirmed tornado on the ground and it's really causing some issues, notice our legend here. You'll see some green, but you'll have little circles of red within a larger blob of green. And the radar's just not seeing that kind of rotation, which, again, even with the update, a little more optimistic. That doesn't mean you need to let your guard down. That doesn't mean you need to leave your safe space. Anywhere there along, it looks like, what is that? Is that 27, I believe it is, Antioch, and then, again, which runs eventually north out of Cynthiana, and then Garnet, and then over toward Barry. Barry is really the area, again, where the potential circulation, I know, zoomed in a little close, and sometimes it's hard to kind of get your bearings. But reds and the green side by side. Anything in red, again, that's away from the radar site. Wilmington's up here. Anything in green, we look for that right there when they're side by side. Closer they are, brighter they are, tighter they are. That means you've got some rotation and the potential that could eventually get down to the ground if it hasn't already. Now, as far as our debris detector, which lets us know whether any damage has been done, because what happens is the radar algorithm is able to read any kind of unusual object that's lofted into the atmosphere, meaning if it's all rain, it's going to be the same color like it is now, red and a little bit of orange in there. But anything that's unusual, that's not of a uniform shape like rain would be, let's say tree branches, parts of homes, any kind of debris, that's going to have a different color to it, or at least the algorithm's going to pick up on a different color. And typically you'll see a little blue dot surrounded by a lot of red. Unfortunately, we had a fairly strong signature, if you remember back in May of last year for the Somerset and London tornado that did the significant damage. It was pretty easy to get that indication on radar. Right now, there's no debris detector or debris signature on radar at all. That's a good thing, indicating that we haven't picked up on any significant debris, meaning the tornado hasn't touched down, done a lot of damage, and lofted a lot of debris into the atmosphere per the radar in Wilmington. So that's good. The fact that the shear is fairly low, that's good as well. And you look at the velocity data, yeah, there's still some rotation in there, but it's not overly bright, and it's not close together or a fairly tight circulation. So that also is an advantage as well. So looking at the radar, again, you got torrential rain even in those areas where the possible rotation has yet to arrive. So just be in your safe place. Antioch, Barry, Garnet, even down toward Connorsville, even with the potential track here, taking it across the northern part of Harrison County, north of Cynthiana. Again, the warning goes until 4:30, so we've got about 25 minutes left. And again, we're hanging with this simply for the fact that we've had the confirmed tornado warning that was issued by Wilmington that came out for Grant and into Pendleton counties. Angie?
Flash flood warning for Grant, Kentucky, and Owen, Kentucky.
Yeah, so that's the other aspect of this. We mentioned it yesterday. In addition to the strong to severe wind threat and the possible tornado threat, we mentioned flash flooding. If you've been outside anywhere around the area today, you can feel it, and boy, oh boy, the dew points have been crazy high, mid to upper 70s. It feels tropical out there, so there's a tremendous amount of moisture, and it's easy to get that moisture lifted, and as a result, that's why we've got these torrential rains that we're seeing in association with the strong to severe storms that are running through the area. We'll flip back over to Louisville's radar, and then we'll kind of broaden things out a bit. Because as you see here, it looks like they kicked out a tornado warning there south of Louisville for Bullitt County, which is obviously out of our viewing area. But
confirmed tornado on the ground near Fort Knox.
And that's the one that they issued here, and it's very, very close to the radar site because, ironically, the Louisville radar site is there at Fort Knox. So if it's confirmed, I highly suspect that box there out towards Shepherdsville, which is, again, out of our viewing area, not impacting us at this point, will eventually become purple. But again, front and center here as far as the metro goes. The heavy rain continues there, Frankfort, Lawrenceburg. And the other thing is, I think what's happening is the storms are so strong over the radar site, that radar beam is having to punch through very, very heavy rain. So that's why the Louisville radar doesn't look as intense, say, in Lawrenceburg, Frankfort, and that leading edge isn't as well defined. We'll switch over to Jackson's radar. See the difference there? See how it's a little bit more pronounced, and the reflectivity or the intensity is a lot brighter because the radar beam, which is down here in Jackson, is just basically unimpeded. It doesn't have anything to block it out. So you see the amount of rain that we're dealing with, and it goes to the point of the flash flood warnings that have been issued up into parts of northern Kentucky here, where we just had, again, that possible tornado roll through Owen County, especially considering they had, I believe, a home destroyed there.
On Stewart Ridge Road, that house that we talked about earlier, it is completely destroyed. There is one injury with multiple emergency vehicles on the scene. So
that's one of the reasons why I think the Weather Service in Wilmington put a confirmed tornado out on this particular cell, even though right now the data isn't indicating it's on the ground and the rotation is very, very broad. Because in this kind of environment today, and this is what we typically see during our spring severe weather season, unless we have a more widespread tornado outbreak or it's a higher end day, you can get these quick spin up tornadoes that in a localized area, if it hits at the right spot, has enough punch with it to unfortunately do some damage. And it appears that was the case here in eastern Owen County as this cell came out into Grant and toward Pendleton County. And that's one of the reasons that the Weather Service decided to go confirmed on that. The rotation now, as far as a rotation detector, is indicating it's more so right along the Harrison and Pendleton County line. I'm going to switch back over to Wilmington's radar because it's just a touch closer here. And let me see what the shear is doing. So again, there's nothing really tight or that's just jumping out relative to any kind of rotation. That doesn't mean you still do not need to be in your safe place. Be there if you're anywhere north and northwest of Cynthiana in Harrison County. Antioch, Berry, Garnet, even Corinth, although when you look at the potential circulation, it is now well to the east of Interstate 75. So it's past there, and it looks like the next focus is US 27 here in between Antioch and down towards Cynthiana.
The tornado siren has been activated in Georgetown along State Highway 32 at US 25.
And that's a little bit tricky because there's just a very, and I'm going to zoom in just to show you. So the black line right here, this is Scott County, and here's Harrison County. There's Cynthiana. Cynthiana's not in the tornado warning polygon, which goes until 4:30. So we got about 20 minutes, 19 minutes left on that. Sadie'ville, not in the polygon. It's just a small little sliver of rural northern and northeastern Scott County that's in that tornado warning. Now, Georgetown may have fired the sirens because of that, but I can tell you right now, broadening it out, there's not a tornado warning in Georgetown or Scott County. For that matter, there's not even a severe thunderstorm warning. Yes, we've got obviously some very intense rain, a lot of lightning, putting the data back on it. You see the pink there, west of Frankfort, severe thunderstorm warning there for Franklin County, for Woodford County, all that, Lawrenceburg, Anderson County, that goes until 4:45. That's going to come trucking through 60, 65, potentially upwards of 70-mile-per-hour winds. Maybe a little hail running right along I-64 there, out toward, say, Grafenberg, closer to the Waddy-Peytona exit there along I-64. But even if you're hearing the sirens in Georgetown, I think that's just a reflection of the fact that there is a very small part of northeastern Scott County, just right that little sliver of area in northern Scott County, north of Sadie'ville, that's in this tornado warning. And honestly, the actual rotation is more so here north of Cynthiana, around Berry, around Antioch. In fact, looking at it, again, little spot there, and could even see some additional rotations, just not jumping out at all. And again, our rotation detector, see how it's very broad. It's not tight, it's not really circular, and so that works to our advantage, hopefully. And even the hail that we had back into Grant County, and when the storm was a bit stronger as it moved through parts of Owen County, that seems to have gone away as well. But of course, we're sticking with this because until they clear this confirmed tornado warning here for parts of Grant and into Pendleton County here within the next 2 minutes, we'll hang with it until then, just of course to be on the safe side. But we're not out of it yet, even though we haven't had any reports at all other than the one in Owen County. Back here just to the east of Owenton. We'll have to get an exact location, but this is the cell that was showing the potential for a tornado. That tornado warning came out for Owen and Grant County, I think about 3:10, 3:15, and then I think they got the damage or house destroyed there, and Owen County went ahead and went confirmed. That's why we've got the blinking purple polygon, something we never want to see when we're looking at the watches and warnings there. But still be in your place, Berry, Antioch, anywhere west and north of Cynthiana. That tornado warning goes for about enough minutes until the bottom of the hour.
The National Weather Service is going to do another on Harrison, but looking to cancel that warning.
The Harrison County may be going away, which of course is here, and again, here in the Lexington area, maybe some light rain. In fact, now that we're the clock here, and we got about 45 minutes until we'll be on again at 5 o'clock. I may run through, go ahead and run through some of the temperatures and whatnot, just give you an idea of what's going on, especially cancel that tornado warning. But really front and center right now, so Metro goes, Frankfort, you're in the thick of it as far as some very heavy rain, but we'd be concerned with here, again, is the leading edge of this line here. South Lawrenceburg, it's getting into northern Mercer, the central part of Woodford County, right around Versailles. This thing is going to come trucking to the west side of Fayette, probably within the next 10 minutes or so. Some pretty intense winds. Now, we don't have a severe thunderstorm yet in County. We may until 4:40 for parts of Franklin, Woodford, Anderson, Mercer, Washington, Nelson, Spencer, and Eastern Shelby. So a lot of real estate to cover, but again, Weather Service really getting ahead of this, and especially considering it unusual time for it, they are definitely being proactive. Purple polygon is now gone, so you can sound the all clear in Owen County, in Grant County, and still have the tornado warning for 14 minutes, but they ended up canceling it for central and northwestern Harrison County and just a small part of Scott County. Sadieville's not in it. Georgetown, Stamping Ground. Even if the sirens are going off, not in a tornado warning.
They've canceled the.
So they've canceled and they've canceled the warning. So I'm going to pull everything back here just to kind of give you a bird's eye view. For the first time in an hour, we have anything in the way of tornado warnings. Let's hopefully keep it that way, but unfortunately, we've got a ways to go because just as a lot of the higher resolution indicated, you were watching today, we talked about midnight afternoon, these individual cells across southeastern Indiana and southwest Ohio would eventually congeal into a wall line of thunderstorms, and that's exactly what's happened. Leading edge of this, which again is rapidly approaching the northwest side of Lexington. In fact, before we take you back here, now that we're clear of all the tornado warnings here, here's Lexington, heavily Stamping Ground, Georgetown, Midway, obviously Lawrenceburg, up US 127 to Frankfort, and it's kind of hard to see with all the yellow on there, but you can kind of trace the severe thunderstorm warning box, which again goes polygon until 4:45. Lexington's not in it, but that doesn't mean we're not going to potentially see some pretty intense weather rolling in here in a little while. So go ahead and just kind of run through a bit of first weather here before we send you back to programming. So you see not much going on, and look at all these cells along the Ohio River. A couple of these broke off on there, one in southern Ohio, one through Owen County, and that and I think most likely a tornado damage there into parts of Owen County. Big picture, fronts off to our northwest, and of course those storms are really firing. Forget about the flood potential as we go through the remainder of the afternoon and evening. In fact, we got a severe thunderstorm watch out until 10 o'clock. Now, I do think once this line of storms moves up through, they should begin to trim some of the counties down. In fact, you can already see a couple of these in northern Kentucky. Wilmington has already dropped those because the severe weather threat has ended. So I highly doubt this thing will last until 10 o'clock, but we got to do the rest of the afternoon. Flood watch until 2 a.m. for the east, here in the bluegrass to the southwest until midnight. And then looking at the overall severe weather threat here, again, this Storm Prediction Center done a pretty good job with it. They extended the level 3 all the way back into western Kentucky. Damaging winds, a few tornadoes, and some hail. Had all of that on the table so far over the last couple of hours. Here's a live look at Stanton and Powell County. Temperature, even with some clouds around, have been in the mid to upper 80s, and this has been the big story. Dew points crazy high. Look at Monticello, 81, 79 in Bardstown. That's a tropical feel. That's a lot of available moisture in the atmosphere, and even with overcast conditions, earlier here in Lexington, we had a heat index of 102. So it shows you just how incredibly humid it has been. So there's plenty of warm, moist, and unstable air for this system to feed off of. So for the rest of the afternoon, again, do expect a pretty intense line of thunderstorms to work through the metro area here within the next half hour to 45 minutes. We got late afternoon and early evening commute coming up here shortly. So highly encourage you to either leave early, especially if you're in the east and south part of the metro area. So Winchester or down toward Richmond. Here in Lexington, either go now or maybe wait it out, because just based on the timing of all this, it is going to be quite stormy. Torrential rain, low visibility, ponding of water on the roadways right during the heart of the afternoon commute. So just something you need to keep in mind going forward here. We're at 4:21. We'll be back in about 40 minutes with LEX News beginning at 5 here on ABC 36. And we'll have the latest updates, and if we have any more tornado warnings, we'll break in for you. Otherwise, take care of your. Thanks for sticking in with us. For meteorologist Angie Regal, I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck. We'll see you coming up at the top of the hour. I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck, alongside Angie Regal. On the severe weather that is ongoing now here in the metro area and along the I-64 corridor. Everything, unfortunately, playing out as we anticipated over the last couple of days. A very unseasonably strong cold front dropping into a very warm and humid air mass. You could tell if you were out and about today. Dew points off the charts. Anything over 60 feels muggy. We've had mid to upper 70 dew points. Now, if you're here in Lexington, you know you're dealing with a lot of heavy rain. We have been very fortunate in the sense of we've been kind of on the weakening end of the line of storms. We've still got a lot of heavy rain and some pretty intense lightning. And you see the flashing green polygons. Those are all flash flood warnings. So that's a little bit of a concern. But the recon is because we have a new tornado warning, which goes for parts of Nelson County and also over into Washington County, including Springfield and Tilton. And the one thing to point out this, in addition to the severe thunderstorm warning, is the fact that notice this bit of a notch right here. So it's got clean inflow, meaning all of that warm, moist air can just be funneled right into the heart of the storm. And that's the area that has been showing some signs of rotation. Taking a look at the Louisville radar site, this is the velocity data, which shows you what the radar is doing or what the winds are doing relative to the radar site. I'll take the lightning data off so you can see what's going on here. So using the telestrator and the ledger here, we'll get rid of some of that. So in green, anything in green is going toward the radar site, which is back up here just off to the northwest at Fort Knox. Anything in red is going away. It's this area right here between Bardstown and New Haven. There's the Bluegrass Parkway there, just south of Bardstown. So this looks like it is eventually going to slide eastward over into Washington County. And actually, just looking at it, it looks like a small part of northern Marion County. There's Loretto, not far from the Maker's Mark plant. And this potential tornado, you see the update of the velocity data there. It is still showing a decent signature. Now, let's take a look at our in-house data here as far as the potential rotation detector. You see kind of the line there. If anything, I think the concern is for the potential of some straight line wind damage as you come out of Nelson County and get into Marion County. Because again, you could see with the reflectivity data, there's a very distinct and leading edge to that line as it moves through. And what happens many times, and I'll show you that velocity data again, it's kind of almost bowing out a bit, and there's nothing off to the south. So again, all that warm, moist air is just feeding right in there to allow those straight line winds to 60, 65, 70 miles per hour. And typically, right at kind of the apex of that, you can get some rotation. And when you look at the velocity data, notice how it matches up with that. So that area east of New Haven there in Nelson County, but Loretto and the extreme northern part of Marion County. So it's going to be really east, southeast Nelson, northern Marion, and into southwestern parts of Washington County. Right along, it looks like, I think, US 150, I believe it is. Angie?
The radar is detecting 80-mile-per-hour winds just 1,500 feet off the ground.
Yeah, so therein lies your problem, and I think that's what the rotation detector is picking on. This isn't rotation proper. It's those winds that are rushing out ahead of it, and that's one of the reasons, again, that here. So, yes, we have the tornado warning, so I'm going to go a little bit closer here. So just some of the smaller communities here in Nelson County, part of Marion, and into Washington County. There's Springfield, there's St. Catherine, again, where the college used to be, Bear Wallow, Manton, Gandertown, which again is north of Mark Plan is, and then back toward Greenball Town, Culvertown, all small communities into the southern part of Nelson, northern part of Marion, and the southwestern part of Washington County. These areas that I just called out, you need to be in a safe place. Go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, go to an interior room, the lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom, someplace away from exterior windows and walls. You're going to want to put as much real estate between yourself and the outside world. As we talk about many times during the spring season, during our severe weather season, tips in place. If you live in a mobile home that does not offer good shelter in the event of a tornado, and where we have the red and the green, which is fairly tight together there, here's the legend. And remember, the radar is back to the northwest there at Fort Knox. This is where our possible rotation is around Balltown, Culvertown, and Greenbrier. Southern, southeastern Nelson County. Here's a small part of northern Marion County, and then you get into Washington County. And again, this warning goes until 5:30, so we got about 40 minutes on it. And you see, again, the data, the velocity data just updated there. And ironically, the circulation looks like it may be jogging to the south just a bit. So Loretto in Marion County, which of course is north of Lebanon here, because there's Lebanon off to the northwest, Raywick as well. Even though you're not in the warning polygon, I'd go ahead and be in a safe place, because even if you don't see the possible tornado rolling past your area, this leading edge right here is going to come rolling right through Loretto across the north central part of Marion County within about the next 5 minutes, with winds potentially in excess of 65, even 70 miles per hour. That in of itself can do some damage. So this is really the area front and center that we're most concerned with, again, for a couple of reasons. Not only the possible rotation, again, kind of on the apex of where this is bowing out here, but really, I think what's going to be in line for the straight line wind damage on the western and southwestern fringe of the viewing area here will be Loretto, and then eventually, if it holds together, down toward Lebanon there in Marion County, the county seat. And now farther east, we've got a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. Those are the yellow polygons. Looks like Taylor County, all of Marion County, and a small part of Boyle County, and that one goes until 5:30. So we got the tornado warning for northern Marion, southeastern Nelson, and into western Washington County until 5:30. And then the rest of these counties here are all of Marion, small part of Boyle, down into northern Taylor, and our viewing area until 5:30 with the severe thunderstorm warning. Now, Lexington has once again managed to miss out on the worst of it, but I want to update you because they just put out a severe thunderstorm until 5:15 for central and southern Fayette County. So I'm going to go in a little bit closer on this. Western Clark County, basically all of Jessamine County, a small part of northwestern Madison County, part of Mercer County, and it looks like even a little bit of Boyle County there. So big chunk of real estate right along this leading edge. It's coming up on Nicholasville. It's running just south of the Bluegrass Parkway. There's the Bluegrass Parkway. The worst of the winds over there, but it's the leading edge that I think's probably around McAfee there along US 127. Let's zoom in. Yeah, there it is. The leading edge coming right through McAfee, Nonsuch, Nicholasville. If it's not to you yet, it will be soon. So kind of getting into the heart of the metro area here and just beyond. So if you're in Harrodsburg, Bergen, down toward Dix Dam, High Bridge, along the, even over toward Camp Nelson along US 20, in these areas, this intense squall is going to appear your way. The update on the reflectivity within the next, I'd say 10, 15 minutes. Be inside, be away from exterior windows here, because again, this thing is packing a pretty good punch, to say the least. And those winds, I mean, generally speaking, remember, severe thunderstorm winds, the criteria is anything 58 miles per hour or greater. Usually it's around 60 or so. In this particular case, winds could be in excess of 65 to even upwards of 70 miles per hour. Southern Fayette County is in it. You notice on the reflectivity data, although I'm going to switch over to Jackson's radar. It gives us a little better view. It's not as, I guess, well defined. Again, that leading edge, and it's through downtown. So anywhere on the north side of Lexington, basically from all the way Winchester, anywhere north of there. If you're going out Paris, out Georgetown Road, out Old Frankfort Pike, you're good. Northern Fayette County, the worst of it is through. That's the case if you're coming out of Versailles and going up US 60 out toward Frankfort. Again, the worst of it through your area. But the other part of it, in addition to the leading edge and the wind, very, very torrential rain. We're 4 minutes away from the top of the hour at 5 o'clock. Afternoon commute is beginning. I know we've given you a day or two notice on this, but I know some businesses allowing their employees to go home a little bit earlier, especially developed off to our north a little while ago. But I think it's going to be this area here off to the south of Lexington. Richmond, Berea, Lancaster, Danville, eventually Stanford, down toward Liberty and Casey County, Perryville and Boyle County. This is the worst of it that's rolling through central Kentucky right now. So again, it kind of split over Lexington. Ironically, that has a tendency to happen. And then you see what's happening off to the northeast. It does look like there's a new tornado warning up in Greenup County, again, just out of our viewing area. So folks, if you know anybody in the Ashland or northeastern, you may want to give them a heads up. Flemingsburg, you're going to see some stronger winds, and we've got fairly healthy cell over Paris. Remember, I got the lightning data off because, I mean, look how much there is of it. Just a tremendous amount of lightning with all of these storms as they drop in here across central Kentucky. So this is playing out about as anticipated. We thought maybe mid to late afternoon with the approach of that frontal system. If you're out earlier today, you could feel every bit of it. Dew point crazy high in the mid to upper 70s. That's like being in South here. That's so to speak, and that's where we've ended up landing this afternoon. Angie?
The tornado warning for central Nelson County is going to expire at 5.
Okay, so they're going to let that go at 5. So you'll be out of it there in Nelson. We got a couple of minutes till the top of the hour. I do want to take one more look at this and see how it's switch over to the Louisville radar because it's a little bit closer. Colorado down toward Mark Plant. This, when you see that big, well-defined edge, that's when you get those destructives, and that's why we've got the warning there. But really, Lebanon, you need to be in your safe place. And looking at the velocity data, the rotation is more broad. Ironically, it's beginning to get out of the tornado warning polygon, and you look at our rotation detector, and as I mentioned before, it's really, that's not rotation, that's straight line wind damage right there, folks, and that's eventually going to run over toward Lebanon. So really, in addition to the potential tornado threat into western central sections of Washington County around Springfield, almost a little more concerned about Marion County and Lebanon, just having a wall of wind rush through your area in fairly short order. And again, we've got more of that potentially for areas back here closer to bluegrass as well, as you see, just kind of broadening things out here. I'll move it over a little bit as we're getting awfully close to the top of the hour here. And I think we'll, all things considered, get the news going here. But Nicholasville, Harrodsburg, eventually down toward Danville, Lancaster, but really into the southern part of Mercer County, southern part of Jessamine County, down toward Camp Nelson, out US 27, crossing the river there into northern Garrett County, around Lake Harrington. Know anybody on the lake? Make sure they are on shore, because again, this thing is going to come rolling your way in a hurry.
They're going to leave the tornado warning in effect until 5:30, northwestern Marion and south Washington County.
Okay, so that's what we're seeing over here. That tornado warning is going to continue until 5:30. It's just radar indicated. So to that end, we're going to go ahead and start the news here at 5 o'clock, assuming that you guys are ready to go in the control room. If you are, give me a heads up. I need 10 seconds to reset my stuff. We'll send it over to Doug and Jennifer and get things rolling for LAX News beginning at 5 here on ABC 36.
LAX News at 5 starts now on ABC 36.
All right, thank you, TG. Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck, assisted by Meteorology Regal through the severe weather here, took over afternoon Kentucky to track this, and there's still more to come. We appreciate you joining us for News at 5. We're going to send things right back to Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck. And T.G., you mentioned the thunderstorm warning for Fayette County till 5:15, assuming that's in play.
It is, but that point not quite as intense as what we had, ironically, northeast and back to our southwest. And when you came out on the two-shot to begin a newscast there, that piece of video that you had behind you, that's going to be a tornado that I'm sure you're going to be talking about that did some potential damage up into Gallatin and possibly Owen County. And that's why we were on the air for nearly an hour from about 3:30 until 4:20 for that cell that moved off to our north. But let's kind of reset everything and give you a bird's eye view. Here's the intense squall line of storms that is moving through the Bluegrass region. Again, timing couldn't be any worse relative to the late afternoon commute, as we alluded to yesterday, and even as far back as Friday. Remember, we said, hey, heads up on Tuesday, little unusual day. Not your typical pop-ups that you get with the heating of the day with some damaging winds. Everything's on the table today, more like an April, May, or early June day, and unfortunately, that's been realized. So you see the flashing green polygons. Those are flash flood warnings. So in all this, with the tornado potential, with the severe wind potential, don't forget about the heavy rain and the subsequent we could eventually run into. But that's some issues up into northeastern Kentucky, west of Ashland with the tornado warning there. And then we've been talking again about the tornado warning still ongoing for a little small part of Washington County and just extreme northern Marion County. Again, it looks like it's radar indicated, but nevertheless, still rain, and the leading edge of that is now through Loretto. But again, that area of that cluster of storms moving through, really concerned with the wind damage potential. And you see the severe thunderstorm warning. It's southern Fayette County until 5:15. Jessamine County, Mercer County, southern part of Woodford County. I'm more concerned with southern Jessamine and say down into Mercer County than obviously what we've got in Lexington. If you're down northern part of Fayette County, I think we're generally in the clear in that regard. Now, if you go up to Paris over toward North Middletown, this cell is fairly strong. Same story from Flintburg to Carlisle. So it kind of broke up a bit. It's not obviously as uniform as, say, what we have down here to the southwest. So if you're in Danville, Lancaster, Perryville there in Boyle County, notice all of those areas dealing with severe thunderstorm warnings because of the potential of damaging winds to go along with that tornado warning, which does include the city of Springfield. So far, of any damage, and it's just broad rotation on the radar, but you definitely want to be in a safe place. And still, again, very, very heavy rain and a lot of lightning. But Falmouth, Williamstown, Cynthiana, a couple hours ago, we were concentrating on you. I think you're essentially in the clear. So let's look at the loop here. Again, you could feel it in the air if you were here in the Bluegrass late morning, early afternoon. Just a tremendous amount of moisture, and these storms firing right along the river. It's yet kind of conjoined with the main line. Those are the ones that can be particularly problematic, with the potential of spinning up a few tornadoes, and unfortunately that may well have been the case. But now we've got the more uniform line to contend with as it works off to the southeast. All this driven by an unseasonably strong cold front that is going to be dropping through here as we progress later the afternoon, more so through the evening hours. It's going to improve our weather dramatically, but you can see what's happening already. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch until 10 p.m. About 15-20 minutes ago, all of this area here in southern Indiana and northern Kentucky filled in. They're trimming the watch back. So my hope is this is a one-trick pony. It's through here, and then we're done with it as we go into the evening hours. But if it's not moved through your area yet, don't lay your guard down. The other part of it, I mentioned the flash flooding. Until midnight here in the Bluegrass Southwest, out here into eastern Kentucky until 2 a.m. We've had a lot of rain lately, and that could be problematic. Latest update, which was a little while ago, and again, I think they'll eventually trim this back. But notice how they pushed the level 3 all the way back into western Kentucky. That ended up being a good call because we've got that ongoing tornado warning right back here around Lebanon and Springfield. So just looking at some of the morning data, that pushed everything back just a bit. You see plenty of rain with our Hicks and Funton cam here. We're now down to 75. Even with some clouds around earlier this afternoon, we were in the upper 80s, and the humidity levels were so high, we were over 100 degrees for the heat index with overcast conditions. That shows you just how much fuel and moisture is out there. Down south where it is yet to rain, you see those low to mid 80s. And look at the dew points here. Mid upper 70s, even near Monticello, and that area have yet to see any rain. Heat index value, look at that, mid upper 90s, even around 100 or so of the surface chart. The front's on our doorstep, so I think as we get deeper in the evening, if we can get the line here and we approach sunset, that hopefully will help to stabilize things a bit, and we'll be in much better shape. But obviously, again, meteorologist Angie Regal and I are here. We'll continue to keep track of this. And if you have to go out here over the next few hours, first and foremost, if you can delay that thing, because you're going to have reduced visibilities, ponding of water on the roadways, especially those areas, Lexington southward, that are dealing with the heavy rain. The payoff to all this, much less humidity and much more comfortable air and a quiet weather pattern as we head into the mid to late week. I'll tell you more about that coming up in your 7-day forecast here in just a few minutes.
Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck. T.G., we appreciate you and Angie keeping us safe. A lot in play. Definitely in play. Thundering for southern Fayette County. 7 minutes. Now south of Blue. We're going to stay close to it for you. Well, as the Commonwealth continues to feel the impacts of the storm, a potential tornado was seen in Owen County.
We are getting a look at the video now from Justin Widener on Facebook of the spin-up in Owen County. We see the tornado touches area, a mix of heavy winds and are also having an impact in Owen County. Also, several Kentuckians have lost power due to the storm.
Now, ahead of this severe weather, Lexington City today, and according to Mayor Linda Gordon, often weather response closed early to get staff home ahead of all this. The mayor urging everyone to be cautious today as the weather rolls through. She says the city is prepared to help anyone in the event of other conditions. The mayor is advising residents that power outages and downed trees and limbs also possible. She says Lexington's first responders are ready to help residents. The streets and roads, water quality and traffic engineering divisions, they're all also on call. And it's not just Lexington officer to the forecast. According to Fayette County Public Schools, activities for this afternoon because of this severe weather threat. Bourbon County schools also can't. Their school events and activities. School officials asking families to stay safe as that storm moves through.
Time for your ABC 36 Storm Team forecast.
At it, continuing to track the severe weather that a broken squall line, some straight line winds. Of course, those will have to be got to touch the flash flood concerns there as well. Viper radar showing what's going on. Here's the leading edge of what we were tracking. First and foremost, they allowed the tornado warning to expire around Springfield. Now, where it's bowing out here, coming through southeastern Marion and eventually down into parts of Taylor and northern Casey County, this may have winds in excess of 65 to 70 miles per hour. And then here in the Lexington area, we're good in Lexington, but Nicholasville, ton of lightning, same story in Harrodsburg, but from Danville, Lancaster, and over toward Richmond, as this blows through, it may be problematic. This is now our bigger problem and what we're going to have to stick with as we go through the next little while here. We've got new tornado warnings out, and this is from the Paris area. In fact, it looks like it is just off to the southeast of Paris. You see our meso cone here indicating the rotation, and there's North Middletown, there's Stony Point. This is in southeastern Bourbon. Here's Clark County, here's Montgomery County. So new tornado warnings out for Bourbon County until 5:30, for Clark County until 5:30, and Jackson putting out the tornado warning until 6 o'clock for Montgomery County, and I actually think it includes parts of Menifee County as well, and even French County in the polygon here, warning polygon. But first and foremost, if you are in North Middletown and Clark County, or if you're in Mount Sterling in Montgomery County, you need to be in your safe place now. Go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, go to an interior room, the lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom. You want to get yourself away from exterior windows and walls. Now, looking at the data here, the Barron Tornado Index is 4.6. That's on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 lowest, 10 being high. Even worst case scenario, we don't see any more than a 7 or an 8. So 4.6, that's decent. And clearly the algorithm is picking up on some rotation. These communities here, 5:15, North Middletown, you got about 4 minutes. You need to be in your safe spot right now. Side view at 5:27, Klondike, 5:37, Mount Sterling and Montgomery County High School at about 5:40, just based on the track. So what I'm going to do here is I want to take a look at some of the radar data to see get off so you can get a little better view. It's running right along US 460. There's Bourbon County, here's Northern Clark, here's Montgomery County, there's Interstate 64, and there's Mount Sterling. So look at the track of it. It's trying to push it and eventually slide right down into the heart of Montgomery, north of Mount Sterling. So our velocity data, and if you've been watching us over the last little while, shows you what's happening here. Look at the legend here. Anything in green next to anything in red, that bright, those colors there right beside each other in this area right here, that's typically the signature that we look for, because it shows us what the winds are doing relative to the radar site. Radar site's down here in Jackson, so that little green's going away, or going toward, and the green's going away. And you put those side by side, the bottom line, and that means there's some potential rotation. Our algorithm showing a solid amount of green there, just to the southwest of North Middletown, in between Stony Point and North Middletown. It's moderate. Sometimes if you get a little tinge of red in there, usually it may be a bit stronger. The algorithm just updated a bit, and we've still got some rotation. So just some of the communities as we get out of county, because you county area, Middletown and southeastern Bourbon, rural areas of northern Clark. Here we are in Montgomery County. So any of these communities, Bunker Hill, Sawview, Ewing, Stoops, Judy. So running north, Mount Sterling. You need a place. This is right along US 460. You go north out of Mount Sterling. There's Interstate 64 right in the middle. So based on the reflectivity data, you've already got heavy rain, a lot of lightning, maybe even some hail as well. In fact, let's check that. If we got any hail, yeah, we got a few hailstones. So something to just kind of keep in mind. Severe thunderstorm warnings all around it as well. So again, and this thing really seems to have intensified as it works in. But all these smaller communities out in addition to Mount Sterling, and we'll have to check Cam as this thing gets a little bit close on Fayette County. But you, with the way it works, if we get our cone here, our spinning cone, that's a radar out picking up on some rotation. And what's doing is the fact that this cell is not, and when we have these severe weather events, that's one of the reasons that we hope have the form line of storms come through. You generally get straight line wind damage. Yeah, you may have an isolated spin up tornado, but when you get these cells out on their own, that's when you have a tendency to run into some problems with, obviously, these kind of using the place. The winds are unusually for the year, obviously. We tip that. So when you see kind of a lone dog cell like this out on its own, that's when it can get concerning. And when we were showing you this at the top of the newscast, seeing that there was some indication that, hey, this thing may end up getting some rotation with it, and that's exactly what's happened. So it's over North Middletown. The warning continues for southeastern part of Bourbon County. That won't last long because this thing is rapidly going to shift and just run right down US 460, which ends there just north of Mount Sterling. So if you're in the city of Mount Sterling, and if you're really anywhere in Montgomery County, again, go to your safe place. Even Margo and Jeffersonville down US 460. Probably going to pass off to your north. Doesn't matter. Be in your safe place. Basement's best. If you don't have a basement, an interior room, lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom. You want to get to the center part of your house and just basically as much real estate in the outside world. You want to stay away from your walls. Obviously, we're halfway through the year here. We've been through our severe weather season. You know your safety tips. If you live in a mobile home, hopefully you've got a sturdier structure nearby that you can get to rather quickly because unfortunately, as you very well know, mobile homes don't have a tendency to fare very well, even in weak tornadoes. I mean, you saw the video that we had at the beginning of the newscast. That looks to be a legitimate tornado in the video. We had reports up towards Sparta, the Kentucky Speedway there, Gallatin County into Owen County, of a home that was destroyed by a quick tornado. So again, this system, very dynamic and unseasonably strong. So one of these afternoons, and that's why we set the table for you over the last couple of days about how the threat was going to be a little more elevated than what we generally see this time of the year. Checking our shear marker here, or at least our rotation detector. Yeah, we still and again, just in that area, that Tri-County area of southeastern Bourbon, northeastern Clark, and into Montgomery County, Mount Zion. If you run out Interstate 64, you're going toward Mount Sterling, you look over to the left, you always see the Mount Zion Church there on the as you're going that way. It is just off to the north of that, running down US 460 and making a beeline toward the city of Mount Sterling, which of course is the county seat of Montgomery. And the storm relative velocity data, again, showing the greens and the reds side by side. It may be a little more broad. You got here and then you have here. So toward the radar is green, away from the radar is in red. These side by side and shift with the air, and that tells us that the winds are actually moving in opposite directions. That gets those updrafts in motion, and that's when you typically see your potential tornado. So it looks like it's about to crawl out of southeastern Bourbon County, just clipping extreme northeastern parts of Clark County. So even though Mount Zion is in the polygon, Winchester you're not. You're good, but really a little more concerned about Mount Sterling here, just based on how that storm is tracking. Now, we'll stick with this, especially considering it's a tornado warning and it's headed toward a county seat, DMA, in our viewing area that's heavily populated. So we got to get the word out, and our goal and job here is to protect life and property, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So we are going to stick with this until they sound the clear on it, and that's the beauty of radar and the advancements in radar. Years ago, you would look at this reflectivity, just it'd be impossible to pick out where the possible rotation is. But it's definitely there, and that's where the, again, velocity data comes to play, and again, the algorithm with our showing some moderate rotation in that area of extreme northwestern sections of Montgomery County coming out of Clark County. So we'll go in even a little bit closer here. So right along US 460, side view, the Grassy Reed Village, Judy, over towards Stoops.
LEX News at 5.
Brighter or yellow roadway there, that's Interstate 64, even though it doesn't have the label on it. And then there's Mount Sterling. Of course, you got the bypass here. A lot of commercial real estate right there at first Mount Sterling exit. And again, a much more heavy area. So you got your rotation back here to the northwest that's going to be moving eastward. And again, even beyond that, look at the amount of rain that we have in the area along with the lightning. We've got a number of, and with already some heavy rain and additional heavy rain moving in where it's kind of stretched out and training over that area. Won't take much to create some flash flooding issues there as well. So in addition to the tornado threat, we've got the flash flood threat as well. So something obviously we're going to have to watch closely here, say over the next 15, 20 minutes. But let me just kind of broaden this out here to show as far as the warning goes. And the Weather Service in Jackson, and because you're handing off from one office to the other. Bourbon County and Clark County, that's Louisville National Weather Service responsibility. Montgomery County, Menifee County, that's Jackson's National Weather Service responsibility. So they kind of have to coordinate, and that's why you got the multiple warnings. We're at 5:25. This one goes here for about another 5 minutes. This is kind of taking its time because, again, it's kind of stretched out because you look at all the heavy rain that we've got basically almost the western part of Bath County, and even a small part, just concentrating so much on what happened in Montgomery counties, even a small part of Bath County, south of Owensville and Salt Lick, off the interstate out toward Olympia Springs, you're under this as well. So any of these communities that are inside that polygon, always better to be sorry. You need to be in that safe place. You need to, a couple days, given the fact that we told you it was going to be a little bit higher chance for a few tornadoes, in addition to the damaging wind threat to go along with flash flooding. You've had that safety plan in place, and you've got your safe place and nowhere to go. Any update, Angie?
Possible rotation updraft on North Clark County. Cross streets are Wades Mill Road and White Turkey Road. Okay, well that's going to be, and I'm really on this. What did you say they were again? So this is 460. This is Paris Pike from Montgomery County standards, not Paris Pike here in Lexington. This is Montgomery County. Here's the county line, and here's Clark County. What'd you say it was again? Wades Mill Road and.
All right, there's White Turley Pike. So, and Big Stoner. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a route right here. And again, that stands to reason because there's generally where you have your green right here in this vicinity. So along US 460, which again in Montgomery County is referred to as Paris Pike, Grassy Lick, folks in that small community, which is just Interstate 64 here that brings you just off, again, to the northwest of Mount Sterling proper here. So this thing's getting awfully close to the city. There's your rotation back here, and there's basically downtown Mount Sterling. We show you the downtown cam there, gateway collision cam that shows you the courthouse. Sometimes we swing it around the other way, and that's where it is. There's Maysville Road right at the intersection of downtown. They're back there to the northwest.
New on an area of rotation near Sideview in Montgomery County.
There it is, right there, Sideview. I'll put the telestrator on it and circle it. So getting reports right here in Sideview of rotation, and that stands to reason. I've said it several times here over the last 15, 20 minutes, doing a little education here. What this velocity does, it gives us the ability to see what the winds are doing relative to the radar. Our site is in Jackson, back here at the east. So look at the legend. Anything in green is going toward the radar site. Anything in red is going away from the radar. It's essentially right here in this area, right here, and there's Sideview, and Angie, that there's the report funnel cloud, possible tornado right along US 460, which again, in Montgomery County, referenced as Paris Pike. So anywhere in this area, in between Judy and downtown Mount Sterling, be in your safe place along US 460 here. Not going to take any chances, whether it's elevated, whether it's on the ground. And at the shear here, you know, it may last, looking back an hour or so, clearly it's showing a little bit here and there. But the fact that we're getting ground truth here, all the more reason to stick with it. And that's going here. So there's that looks like Pruitt, Grassy, Lick view is where it is. And again, you know, the storm itself is moving right down US 460, so it appears that it's going to end up downtown. 64, this is Maysville Road to the interstate, and then you can make that left into northern parts toward Judy. You got Fairfield Drive, Thompson Road, the Stoops community, and really anywhere in Mount Sterling proper, especially if you're downtown and running all the way out to I-64. Doesn't matter whether you're at the first exit or Ewington. Safe right now, given the Weather Service, we're getting at least reports of some rotation, possible tornado, possible funnel cloud, and we've got the data to support it right here around Sideview. I mean, we've had 2 instances of confirmation, and we're able to point those out to you direct map here. Rolling to the east, southeast, into a rather area, and you can see all those streets there, Mount Sterling bypass down toward Montgomery County High School.
Funnel cloud in the air in Montgomery County, looking northwest from the community of Hope.
Okay, I saw Hope up here just a little bit ago. So let me get that out of the way. So this thing's running right on 60, and I mean, the way that it's coming in, it doesn't appear to be, although very easily could be, because you look at actually might not be. Here in this area around Grassy Lick, you would have a decent view of it because it's apt to be here, you know, kind of in this northwest large area of rain. Probably of hail there in downtown Mount Sterling. But again, from the concern is for this area, city off to the side lick, which again was was it a possible funnel cloud, or is that
the pitched funnel cloud in the air?
So side view, and this is right along 4C. Here's your exit. This is the first Mount Sterling exit, and go through Winchester, past Mount Zion going into western Montgomery County, and when you come up on Mount Sterling proper, in fact, you can see here, there's around the Montgomery County High School, there's downtown Mount Sterling. Up here between Bradley and West-4, where you see the red and the green, the storm winds are doing. They're side by side. That's an indication that they're going in. I think in this particular case, it's obviously pretty tight, considering we're getting pictures and video in funnel cloud. Now, whether it's managed to reach the ground or not, be seen. Just right now, just based on velocity data, it jogs southeast, just a touch. It's going to be awfully close to that first exit, basically right there at the interchange of Maysville Road coming out of Mount Sterling and US 460, just on the Mount Sterling, and got some areas, a little industrial area as you head to Mount Sterling exit, Mount Sterling in that regard. Look, again, still it is moderate. Is still picking up on that. One thing that we have not looked at, that's the debris signature, the debris detector, and what that does is it reads, and if it's all uniform, even though it can be in various, it's in one form. It's what you see when you see all red or a little bit of orange. But when you see that, and let's say, for example, there was, a hint of blue and it was circular, well, any tornado touches down and it debris into the air. Remember, it's at the ground, but the beam is aloft, several hundred or so in the air. So when that debris gets lofted, it bounces off different objects, whether branches or parts of homes or whatever they may be. That will that's a debris signature on radar, and it will give us an indication that yes, that tornado is either on the ground now was before. Luckily, we're not seeing that, so that's always a positive. Sudden that comes up, then that's a little concerning. But we still have the rotation there. It is firmly there, and been awfully close to some of the particular streets and communities there in Montgomery County. Do want to sound the all clear for you in southeastern Bourbon and the northeastern part of Clark County. You're out of the tornado warning, but now the focus shifts firmly on Montgomery County and into the southeastern part of Bath and the western part of Menifee County. The Weather Service in Jackson really kicking this thing pretty far to the east. In fact, all the way down US 460, Mount Sterling, Camargo, Jeffersonville, again, which is the county seat of Menifee County, and these warnings go until 6 o'clock. So we're at 5:37. We've been on for a bit with this, and there's good reason for it, because this cell, notice there's nothing around it. There's nothing to impede that warm, moist air just feeding into that northwestern corner of the storm. Just to look at the reflector, you can almost see a little bit of inflow right there. And so that's just kind of helping to feed things and get the updraft going in motion. And so that's why that cell is much more than, say, some of the others that we have. Now, even though we're tracking that, we're not forgetting about it. I kind of leave some of the other areas a while. Looks like we got out of area. It's like probably Hart County, I'm guessing, out in central Kentucky. Look at all of polygons, flood warnings. That's the other part of this. It's going to start turning at Rocky. Lexington, we're in the clear. We're good. Nicholasville, you are as well. Heavy rain. Richmond, in between Richmond and Berea, probably Bucky's there on down riding this out. And one thing I do want to do is go here in the extreme south, the Boyle County line, just south of Gravel Switch. Well, of course, skit data disappears right on cue, but rotation there. In fact, let's see what it, yeah, you see the reds and the greens there. There's Houstonville. This is along US 27, Junction City, Yosemite down. Does with that. Sheer, yeah, and they're here. So that's what happens on a day like this. Coming your way, Waynesburg, down 7 over here. That's going to be coming your way, and then we'll just kind of go down the line here. Looks like that's fanning out. I mentioned Bucky's, Bluegrass Army Depot, Berea, wind's not to you yet, but Kirksville, Paint Lick, Western Madison County. So we've just got a large area of South Central Kentucky that's dealing with, again, the potential for the severe weather here. Somerset, London, you're good for now, but all of the yellow polygons, those are all severe thunderstorm warnings for a number of counties. But I do want to get back to what we got going on. And you see here how this line is pretty much all together here. There aren't any breaks in the line, but we have this one cell that's out on its own. Got a little space between this and then what's happening here into Madison County. And these are the ones that can be particularly problematic in today's environment, with the upper level being unseen, the dynamics in place, the end result, again, that tornado back into Gallatin County. And again, we've been signature. Again, there's that notch there, and that again could be big time problems.
2 areas we're watching in Montgomery. One in between Cy and a weaker one along 4 just north. There
you go. 1, 2. So anywhere north of Mount Sterling, north of I-64. So that's basically where the area of concentration is going to be. Not by any stretch sound clear from Mount Sterling, because possible rotation is awfully close. But anywhere north of I-64, here is the exit for Mount Sterling. Second one out in the industrial park there that you see on Google Earth. But the reds and the greens next to each other, that's our indication of the funnel cloud. So I mentioned it earlier, Banton, Fairfield Drive, the Stoops area. I go way over here to Owens Road, which will over. This is US coming out of Mount Sterling. It'll take you over into Bath County toward Owensville. So this will be the area of concern. So now we're shifting more so from, it's kind of broad. Again, there's a couple of areas they're watching and don't really stay uniform. I know if you're like literally turning on the TV and zoom or look at what we zoomed in on. This is Montgomery north of Mount Sterling. There's Maysville Road that comes out of Mount Sterling, and where we've got the reds and the greens right next to each other. This is where we've got the potential. We've had a funnel cloud sided, and it's one thing I want to point out. Notice the red. That rotation. Now, that things have a cycle, especially when out on their own like this one. And so that's one of the reasons why we're really concentrating on this area of Montgomery County, because again, we've had a number of reports of funnel clouds in these areas that we have been naming off for. That's one of the reasons as we go down the line here. So again, US Highway 60, which comes out of Mount Sterling, crosses over, I believe, right there by the second Mount Sterling exit if you're going eastbound on I-64, and then curves up and eventually heads over toward Owensville. There's Bath County High School on the map. You can kind of see the polygon right there. Owensville and Bath County not in it, but there are parts of Bath County in it, and of course Menifee County as well. But see what adjustments made here as this thing continues to work its way north and northeast of Mount Sterling. I-64 for the time being, southeast as it kind of has been since it rolled out of Birmingham 460 and it goes more east. Well, what's going to happen? It's going to catch up to I-64 and eventually run over into Bath County, right to Owensville, which of course is the county seat of Bath County. So something will continue to get data kind of picked up on things. BTIs, some of the areas here that are going to be impacted. See your city on there, just play it safe. Go to your basement, don't have a basement, interior room, your home, preferably closet, bathroom. Want to keep yourself away from exterior windows and walls, center part of your home, closet, bathroom. And again, if you live in a mobile home, that is obviously not the place to be, as those have a tendency to not fare very well in these types of situations.
Pretty good shelf cloud in just north of Liberty in Casey County. Debris detector is picking up on it too. That's what you were showing earlier. So eyes are on that. Yeah, so that's that other storm that we were talking about. And I mentioned, so we still, so you've got Montgomery County, Bath County, Menifee County, and it looks like it even clips, a small part of Powell County. Stanton and Clay City, not in it. Remember, a couple of months ago in the spring, you had a possible tornado just north of town there in Stanton. It ended up being straight line winds, and it was out in the Red River Gorge area in a very sparsely populated area. So any problems there. But to Angie's point, I believe it's this cell where we see the mesocone, and that's an indication that there may be a little bit of rotation in that. So, and it could be straight line wind. If you look at the radar data, look at that pretty well-defined leading edge, and that's when you end up 65 to even 70. That was really on the table today with any of the storms that got their act together, developed, and moved through. I don't want to interrupt, but Montgomery County Emergency Management is reporting rotation above the city of Mount Sterling right now. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, considering that they were back here, considering that they were looking at multiple areas, it was entirely possible. And that's what I said earlier. Even though it looks like it's going to be on the side of Mount Sterling, if you're in the tornado warning polygon, you got to stay where you are. While we're down here, they've extended their thunderstorm warnings to include, it looks like Pulaski County, northwestern Laurel, basically all of Rockcastle, northern part of Jackson, over into Estill, Leake is where along the line of thunderstorms, you're going to see 60, 65 mile per hour wind gusts potentially. And I highly suspect as we get a little deeper into the evening here, we're going to start to get some wind. And of course, as these cells take their time working on through, you've got that element of flash flooding in there as well. Possible brief tornado touchdown in northern Montgomery County. Okay, well, so that's, again, and I mean, the news, so we would be on anyway. I know sometimes it's a drag for us to be somewhat repetitive and continue to stay with these storms and give the same information and the same safety information, but today's one of those days where this is why we do what we do, because when you are getting the ground confirmation, be it from emergency management, from law enforcement, from the general public, and the radar data supports it, it definitely warrants staying on. So that's one of the reasons that we are. Again, here's Mount Sterling. Had that report of, again, some possible rotation town. I think really probably the area of greatest concern is actually, ironically, it may kind of skip out of the tornado warning polygon and get over more toward Owensville here. Again, it's very, very broad. Now looking at the shear with our rotation detector, that's where it is. You see the red line, inside that is
where we have the ongoing tornado warning for about another 11 minutes. Now, Owensville, but just given the fact we've had reports of funnel clouds, we've had reports of possible touchdowns here in the northern part of Madison County, I would go ahead, if you're in Owensville, anywhere there along I-64 in Bath County, around Bath County High School, of course, you know, Bath County High School is right there on the west side of Owensville. Get to your shelter. P-Sticks also there in Slate, because this is where the rotation is, or at least the radar is indicating.
Our is at Route 60 and Colonial Drive, and she's seeing a cloud that possibly looks like it could start rotating.
Okay, so let me zoom in here, and because here's Highway 60, and I thought I saw Colonial Drive on there a second ago. You really got to get in close here. It's definitely out here, more so in the northeastern part of Montgomery County. And again, I think the rotation's going to end up skipping out of Montgomery County and probably getting into Owensville, over toward Owensville, and into Bath County. So let me show you the reflectivity data. Big torrential rain, a lot of lightning with it as well, but the concern is within this part of the cell, and notice how it's cellular. It's not a line. It's one lone storm out on its own. So it has basically the entire atmosphere all the way around it, all that warm, moist, and unstable air as we hit the peak warmth, even with some storms that we had earlier of afternoon and rapidly heading into the early evening hours for it to essentially sustain itself. And that's what it's doing. And we've literally been tracking this thing all the way back when it was in southeastern Bourbon County, around North Middletown, rode right down the US 460 corridor, had reports of funnel clouds, and even, again, some possible touchdown there north of Mount Sterling. And again, your polygon here is in red, and it cuts off just as you get into Bath County, but south of Owensville. And the orange line there, that is Interstate 64. So the reds and the greens, again, this is a great tool. It shows us what the radar is doing, or what the wind is doing, that is, follow the radar site. Toward the radar is in green, away from the radar is in red. Radar's down here in Jackson. When you get these side by side, right there along the interstate, off to the northeast of Mount Sterling, that's where you have your possible rotation. And what makes today a little bit different a lot of times is struggle to get information and ground truth. And folks on the ground saying, hey, we're seeing this funnel cloud. Hey, we've had a possible touch. We're getting that this go around. And again, that's one of the reasons that we're sticking with this until the top of the hour. But I highly suspect, given the history of this, they may end up taking this polygon and shifting it a little bit farther to the north to include Owensville, out towards Salt Lick, Olympia Springs, you're in it now, but they may end up just jogging this thing a little bit to the north.
We've got a new tornado warning for Lincoln County and Casey County until 6:30.
Okay, so we've got multiple tornado warnings to deal with now, and that other one is the cell that we were visiting on occasion back here where our mesocone shown, and there you go. So let me take a look at this. Again, the leading edge of this here has the potential of producing, again, 60, 65 mile per hour winds. It's coming out of Casey County. It's going to clip a small county and just northwestern Pulaski County. Waynesburg is right on the Lincoln-Pulaski County line. Eubank is in Pulaski County. It's right along US 27. And then, of course, Bethel Ridge and Yosemite. It's not Yosemite, it's Yosemite, and then Liberty in Casey County. And where you see that bit of a notch there, let me see what the velocity data looks like on that. And that's probably where the rotation, most likely, there it is right there.
Yep, that's where they're watching, TG, right the south of Yosemite, east of Liberty.
So the radar again, this here, let me clear the telestrator off. So we got two issues here. We have tornado warning, obviously, County and parts of Bath, Powell, and into Menifee, and for Lincoln County until 6:30, Casey County until 6:30, and I think it's not sneaking into Pulaski County because literally Eubank's just inside the border of Pulaski County. So it's Lincoln and Casey, those two. So it's south of Yosemite. Last scan, look at the storm relative. So there's the red and the green. It's this area right here. Go a little bit closer. So it's essentially between, it's near a Lawhorn Hill, but it's south of Yosemite, north of Bethel Ridge. So if you're in Eubank, extreme northern Pulaski County, even though you're like right on the edge on there, or Waynesburg, played a little charity basketball there back in the day a few years ago, but right there along US 27, be in your safe place because this possible rotation that has prompted the tornado until 6:30, that is in play. And again, the leading edge of the wind already comes gust of wind, you got torrential rain, you got tons of lightning out there, and now you've got the potential of having to deal again with maybe a quick little spin up. With that southwest wind, fronts coming in, you got all that warm, moist, and unstable air. I mean, down toward Lake Cumberland, crazy dew points in the upper sea near 80. That's like South Florida. So lots of storm energy just jumping right into that thing. And that's probably enough, again, as it bows out, the jagged edge, just kind of right on the apex where that kink is, that's a little spin up, and I think that's what we're dealing with down there.
So thankfully in Montgomery County, the rotation has broadened enough that they're going to let that tornado warning expire at 6. So eyes on Casey and Lincoln County now. So
I'm going to pull out a little more broadly here, and we're about 5 minutes till the top of the hour, but we're going to go ahead and stick with this. That's what we do. We got a tornado warning in our viewing area, especially on a like today. We're unseasonably and strong cold front for July. The wind fields are there. The garden variety up severe thunderstorm. We set the table on this for the last several days. We're going to hang. So it looks like they're going to just do a severe thunderstorm warning until 6:30 for Rowan into Bath, parts of Menifee County. And notice how it's a little farther east instead of south. I was mentioning how it looked like it was jogging more toward Owensville. But even though that's going to be allowed to expire here in about 3 minutes, if you're in Owensville or Salt Lick in Bath County, you might want to go ahead, if you're not in your safe, just be because the wind's really going to come kicking through, and this thing could cycle itself very slowly and then be dropping a spin up, and that, of course, in and of itself would be pretty problematic. Leading edge of this that is now dropping into south central Kentucky. Rain, same story as well. So it's moving out of southern Madison County into Jackson County, Lee County, northern Rockcastle warnings until 6:15. Jackson County, Lee County, over looks like Wolfe County as well. So I think that's what we're going to end up seeing the next hour or two until we see this thing literally run all the way down into southern Kentucky or lose some of the storm energy as we lose the heating of the day. But again, this is again in southeastern parts of Casey County and just kind of clipping a small part of Lincoln County. Now, Science Hill along US 27, they're north of Somerset. You're good for now. Although I think you were just about to tell me that they just put out a tornado warning for Pulaski County, and they did until 6:30. So the Weather Service, again, it's all about, it's been uncanny the number of these warnings that have been on the edge of one forecast office to the other. Casey and Lincoln County, responsibility. Pulaski County, Jacksonville, coordination, and that's why at odd times.
When you go to the west, tornado is ground.
One, that's my old viewing area in the Louisville area. You see, anytime you see the blinking purple polygon, confirmed tornado. Now, for our viewing area, the trajectory of this would keep it out of the viewing area, may clip Adair County if it holds, but fortunately, out across, again, cellular and singular as opposed to a line. But I think what we've got here is Lincoln and Casey County and eventually into Pulaski County here. This is more of a line of thunderstorms where you get a little bit of a notch or a kink in that line and it can produce a quick spin up tornado. Yeah, it may only be an EF0, it may only be an EF1. If it's a neighborhood or area, then you know that's a major problem. So even it's not on the Montgomery County storm, which again was producing a number of reports of clouds, possible touchdown, etc. This one, based on the reflectivity, doesn't look like a whole lot, but you got to remember this leading edge here that is now through Bethel Ridge, it is through Eubank, Science Hill, Bobtown, Shotville, north of Somerset. This is going to drop in, and as it does, even without the tornado threat, which Pulaski County now under tornado warning as well, you're looking at 60 to 65 mile an hour winds. That was the deal all along. We emphasized it yesterday. We emphasized it earlier this morning. Damaging winds are going to be the primary threat. But we've had a couple of instances, of course, where we've had some tornado warnings. And so far, based on the video that we showed you an hour ago at 5 o'clock, Gallatin County into Owen County, that probably will end up being a legitimate tornado, especially considering a home was destroyed. And the fact that we've had a number of reports of funnel clouds in Montgomery County, there will be a few site surveys, I think, going on tomorrow as we have much better weather coming into the area. But again, looking at the storm winds relative to the radar site, I think the storm relatives maybe a little bit better here. It's not overly strong. But signature is there. Looking at our rotation detector, you don't really slide. This is what we like to see. Rotation detector, the algorithm does a really good job on picking up where we have the possible rotation, and when it is very negligible, you see just a little spot on Bethel Ridge, a good thing, and has a tendency to indicate it may be a case of where it's a little more broad, as this is embedded within this edge, pretty intense wind, northern County, and then fanning out, and eventually Cumberland Parkway and Lake Cumberland here, probably with 5 minutes.
Tornado warning coming for Estill County.
Okay, so we've got the tornado warning for Lincoln, parts of Casey, and into Pulaski County. That goes until the bottom of the hour. So you got about 25 minutes there. We're going to visit the other one because, again, just looking at the radar signatures, I'm more concerned with the straight line wind damage potential here, and we need to go visit the other one. But if you're in the Lake Cumberland area, no, and muggy, this is a pretty good day. If you know maybe out on the lake or close by, have them get to shore and get inside within the next 45 minutes. This thing, even if it works to the southeast, cutting out these areas of storms, and that produce some wind gusts in excess of 60 to 65 miles per hour. So here is our tornado warning for, it looks like we got Estill County until 6:30, small part of Jackson County, Lee County, and then Owsley County here, Boonville. So all the county seats are included except for McKee and Jackson County. Now Irvin, it looks like it's about through you. And I think the reason we're seeing this is that's what happens as these storms move from northwest to southeast. If they pivot to the east a little bit and they become with that south to, let's say they pivot to the right a bit, they begin to bow out, and as that happens along that line, you can get a little of rotation because of the way the wind is hitting it. The thing was kind of oriented like southwest to northeast earlier. Well, this part of that storm is now almost due south to north. So this is a pretty classic signature. You're probably getting a little bit of upper level wind kicking in behind it, so it's trying to bow out, and the end result of that is you see a bit of rotation in this area just south of Irvin, the Irvin-Ravenna area, and then that's going to take you on into eastern Estill County and then eventually over toward Beattyville. And it's so just north of the polygon, out more so into the Red River Gorge areas there. County, having that road park here at Stanton, it's pretty curvy coming out of Powell County and running down toward Irvin. But it's going to be this area, again, along this part of the basically kind of broken squall line here. Again, it's in shifting and going more west to east instead of northwest to southeast. So as an end result here, it's this leading edge right here. It's kind of getting a little kick in from the west, and that's pushing those winds out. Beattyville and eventually over toward Campton, even though you're not. This is going to run, again, just, I think, south of the Mountain Parkway, Natural Bridge in that area as well. We mentioned all the lightning. If you were watching at 11 o'clock last night, ran a story about this past weekend, how someone was struck at Natural Bridge doing some hiking. So obviously, in addition to the wind threat, the potential tornado threat, got a lot of lightning with this as well. So you want to be in. Basically, as we have repeated a number of times throughout the afternoon, if you're in Estill County, small part of Jackson County, and Owsley County's there, and I think they may have even included a small part of Breck. They're kicking it down the line pretty far, and even a small part of Wolf. But really, Estill, all of Lee County, northern part of Owsley County, be in your safe place. Go to a basement, don't have a basement, interior room, lowest level of your home, preferably closet, bathroom. Stay away from exterior windows and walls. Get yourself pillows, blankets, got a bicycle helmet, batting helmet. That's a key part of your severe weather safety kit or plan, because a lot of times, even with weak tornadoes, you have damage. A lot of the injuries, a lot of the social science and studies that have been done over the last 10 based on tornadoes, many of the injuries many times are due to head injuries because people's heads are not protected, whether it's a weaker tornado or something a little bit more significant. So always a good idea in your safety kit here. So that tornado warning goes until the bottom of the hour. So we've got about 20 minutes. Almost more concerned in addition to the tornado threat here because again, it's pretty broad, but I think more than anything, they're probably just playing safe relative to the fact that they had that little bit of rotation. Probably, I think it apt to maybe look a little better when it was back, say, southwest of Urban as it works into Estill County. It's very, very broad. You don't see those bright reds and bright green had, say, in Montgomery County when we were tracking that within the past hour or so. But what we are seeing is, again, this lead edge here that's coming out of Estill County and working into the western part of Lee County. That's the area, and even though you're under a tornado warning, it's surrounded by a severe thunderstorm warning as well. That's where you're looking at winds 60, 65 miles per hour. I mean, all along with the overall severe weather threat today, we were looking at the potential of maybe, in excess of 70 miles per hour. Again, a very, very unusual thing for the mid to latter part of July. I mean, if today was April 21st, wouldn't be shocked at all. July 21st. We don't this often, and it's good that we don't get it this often yet, because this would even be an active day with the number of tornado warnings that we have seen so far this afternoon. Number of flash flood warnings as well. Again, just torrential rain. Obviously, the ground's very saturated in many locations, and that's been a concern as well. Back out here a little bit. I know folks probably tuned in at the top of the hour. This kind of shows what is left in the wake of this large area of rain and storms. All of the blinking greens are flash flood warnings. And as I mentioned, of late, we've had a ton of rain. Doesn't take an off. Rainfall rates probably 1 inch plus per hour with these. Looking at, again, of some flash flooding. But right now, front and center, the two areas of concern, we got 2 separate tornado warnings. Of course, one for Estill into Lee, parts of Owsley County, and the other one really more so, I think, into Pulaski County. You've got some torrential rain, a lot of lightning there right now in Lincoln County, but it does look like the leading edge of this. I'm going to kind of revisit that because the concern there is Science Hill. It's any of these storms, especially on the reflectivity, that just show signs of fanning out. When you have this leading edge arcs the way that it is, that's going to be racing off to the southeast pretty quickly. And as that happens, that's when you get for our wind. Angie, if we got any storm reports trickling in, those have a tendency to, I mean, it can be hours sometimes before those running down US 27 north of Somerset. Somerset not in the tornado warning polygon. It is just on the north side of town there, kind of up US 27 towards Science Hill. Sneaky suspicion that the winds are really kicking in Science Hill over to Bobtown and Shopville there along Kentucky 80 as it runs out into the eastern part of Pulaski County. So let me take a look at the velocity data. Still got some broad rotation. You see a little bit of red, you see a little bit of green right there in the Science Hill, but we don't have I guess we don't have that orientation north to south that we did, say, just a few minutes ago, similar to what we had up there into Estill and Lee County. When it runs kind of parallel to the flow, that's when you can get your quick little spin up, and that's the challenging thing for the Weather Service to try to get ahead of those things. Always better safe than sorry in an environment like today where we've got, again, the wind feels unusually strong. Hail, don't have anything with that, which earlier when those storms were coming across the state line from Indiana crossing the Ohio River, northwestern Kentucky, they had a good bit of hail with them, but they haven't so far. Anything on the chat?
No, just some pictures, people in of the funnel clouds that were in Montgomery County earlier, but no storm reports as of yet. So, showing the big picture here, Lexington, we're good. We're in the clear. In fact, I think if they haven't already, they'll probably end up, unless we could conceivably get a bit of redevelopment later on with a few scattered showers and storms. But as far as the general severe weather threat, I'm sure they're beginning to trim some of the counties relative to the severe thunderstorm warning. But you see Anderson County, you got a flash flood warning. Mercer County, Boyle County, down into looks like Garrett County, you got a severe thunderstorm warning. But really, I think until we get all this through southeastern Kentucky, we're not going to be able to sound the all clear, because you got to remember that part of the state down south, super duper humid. I mean, here in the Lexington area, if you were out late morning, early part of the afternoon before this stuff got going, mid to upper 70s. That's like being much, much farther north. That's how it feels when you're down there in Miami, even this time of the year. I mean, crazy amounts of moisture, and with this unseasonably strong front moving in, this has been the end result, and that's been some very heavy rain producers
and again, the leading edge of these storms producing those potentially damaging wind gusts and spinning up the possibility of a tornado or so. Looking at this cell that was impacting Mount Sterling earlier, it has started to weaken out. This one that is east of Moorhead, you got a severe thunderstorm warning that's eventually going to get out toward the US 23 corridor. Got some action up toward Ashland, Huntington there in West Virginia. But our two biggest concerns, and again, folks, just kind of giving you a heads up, London, Corbin, Williamsburg, over to Manchester, down toward Barberville, all this is headed your way. And just given the amount of warmth and moisture out there, even with some rain showers preceding it, I mean, think of here in Lexington. Yeah, we managed to avoid the worst of it, but we had a lot of overcast. Despite that, we've still managed to get storms going with a pretty good clip and rather intense, to say the least. So I think we're about in the, well, you're definitely in the clear in Irvine, in Ravenna there in Estill County. You got a lot of torrential rain, a little concerned about the flash flooding threat there relative to the velocity data. There's nothing jumping out. Our rotation detector here, not really showing much as well. They're still hanging in with the tornado warning until the bottom of the hour. I think that's when they all go to, until the bottom of the hour. Just pictures, video, I'm assuming, on all these. So here are all of the active severe, tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, and flash flood warnings without the radar data on them at all. So here in the Bluegrass region, other than out toward Lawrenceburg and down toward Danville and Lancaster there in Garrett County and back toward Lebanon, where we've got ongoing flash flood warnings, we're in pretty good shape. Hopefully this confirmed tornado, which is why it's blinking purple there across parts, looks like southern Hart County, running into Adair County. It's southwest of Columbia, so it's just kind of on the extreme western edge of the viewing area there. That one bears watching as it runs down toward the Lake Cumberland area. But you see, as this stuff sweeps through, there just really hasn't, you know, there's a couple of isolated cells redeveloping right along the nose of that front. But when you get the initial wave coming through, that has a tendency to kind of stabilize the atmosphere, and that's even the case in the spring. So not overly concerned with kind of jumping back in the weeds with this, maybe a little bit later on in the evening. Hopefully, if you remember last night, well, actually this time yesterday, we were kind of worried about a 1-2 punch, round in the morning, round in the afternoon. And this morning, the latest data came out, it looked like it was going to be kind of a one-shot deal here as we got into the afternoon, and that's kind of exactly how things have played out. So they trimmed the warning, where the tornado warning that goes until 6:30 is now just in effect for Lee, Owsley, small part of Breathitt, and Wolfe counties. Campton not in it, Jackson not in it, but it bears watching. If anything, it's broad rotation and more wind damage, so just be in your safe place in Beattyville and Boonville. Again, those are the county seats of Lee and Owsley County, more highly populated area of these counties into eastern Kentucky. So we've got that one. We've got a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. The hope is, as we get a little deeper into the evening here and the sun begins to set, of course, sunset not until nearly 9 o'clock, so we got a few hours. We'll begin to see this stuff. It's 6:20 at this point. I think we're going to just ride it out and stick with this, since these go until the bottom of the hour. I mean, we basically killed out the newscast at this point as well. And considering we still have active tornado warnings and the fact that this thing is coming up on the north side of Somerset, and again, it is showing that very, very distinct leading edge. And so it's through Bobtown, it's through Science Hill. I know we got a lot of folks down here watching. The Shopville area, out Kentucky 80, out from Somerset. There's Nancy, there's downtown Somerset. You got about 5 or 10 minutes tops in Somerset before you get a pretty significant wall of wind coming your way. Even though you're not in the tornado warning proper, Science Hill, you got a lot of rain. I've taken the lightning data off. Look at the number of lightning strikes. Of course, this thing's getting awfully close to Lake Cumberland. Nobody should be out on the lake. Hopefully you've had enough warning with this stuff dropping in and us being on for the better part of the afternoon to know that being out on the water, you've had plenty of time to do it. But again, when you see a very distinct sharp edge to these storms and it's fanning out, it's kind of bowing out, that air rushing out of it, highly suspect we could see 65, possibly even 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts out of it.
Estill, Pulaski, and Bath counties are looking better, looking like the rotation is broadening. They're on a downtrend, so we're improving in those areas.
So there's good news relative to the tornado threat relative to these cells, but as mentioned, I don't want you to let your guard down because these storms mean big-time business. Going in a little closer again, this thing is through Science Hill, so the worst of the wind is through Science Hill. But on the north side, Somerset, of course, Pulaski High School and Somerset High School, they're not too far away from each other. But here, if you live just north of downtown, you see all the streets, very heavily populated area running out towards Sugar Hill, the Barnesville area. This is going to be, again, a lot of wind that is just going to come rushing through downtown Somerset here, literally within the next 5 minutes or so, if it's not on top of you already. And even though the emphasis is on tracking the potential tornadoes and the tornado warnings, and we have had several this afternoon, when 65, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, that's enough to even do straight-line wind damage that would rival a weaker EF0 tornado. So these storms really mean business. You see with the updated sweep there, it's already on top of Sugar Hill. It's going to come rushing across Pulaski County High School, Somerset High School, and downtown Somerset. So we got about 8 minutes until the bottom of the hour. Looks like the thunderstorm warning goes until 6:45 for Pulaski County, which takes you all the way down to Burnside at Lake Cumberland and then over toward Nancy and out the Cumberland Parkway. So really this is the area, I think, in southern Kentucky right now of greatest concern, just given the fact that that area has not been worked over at all. In fact, we've had temperatures there into the upper 80s, close to 90, with the crazy high dew points. The feel-like temperatures at times down there have been close to the 100-degree mark. Mount Vernon, you got a little bit of heavy rain, to say the least. Might get some pretty strong winds. So again, as these things go to the east and southeast, they're kind of fanning out. So eventually, say this cluster that's working towards Somerset, the eastern edge of it is beginning to pivot more eastward. So I think we're going to have to maybe watch this area, Mount Vernon, and say points to the east over eastern Rockcastle County and maybe over toward Laurel Lake, London, maybe down toward Corbin and over toward McKee. Because as this kind of broadens out, if this shoots straight to the east, that's when you get the bowing. The upper level winds support it, and that air just rushes out of the front of that storm and really can do some big time damage. The other aspect of it, I mentioned a lot of heavy rain, torrential downpours with these, quick flash flooding. All this has been occurring during the afternoon and evening commute, not only here in the Bluegrass, but across parts of South Central and now Southern Kentucky. And that's really where everything is front and center. So you see really 3 tornado warnings, Lee County, there into parts of northern Owsley County, Pulaski County, and then back here into a small part of Adair County. And again, of the 3, I think the one along the I-65 corridor, that's the strongest, because notice how it's kind of out on its own, and it may clip part of the Lake Cumberland area if it were to shift a little bit more to the east and southeast here. That could potentially cause some issues here as we go into the evening hours. Because again, we've got a few hours to go here. Northeastern Kentucky, east of Moorhead, we're getting along the US 23 corridor. We're in pretty good shape. Isolated cells, so surprised even as we go through the evening hours if we don't end up with a few additional thunderstorms. Whether they're strong or not kind of remains to be seen, but we'll see about that. Since we got about, what, 4-5 minutes till we hit the bottom of the hour, while these things play out, since we've been on for an hour and a half and we have yet to give you the forecast for the rest of the week, let's share some good news instead of some bad news. So let me take it through the remainder of the forecast and show you what's happened. If you've been completely checked out for the entire afternoon and have been in southern Kentucky and have had no idea that we've had some active weather, boy, have we ever. You can see this, again, broken line of thunderstorms that developed over southeastern Indiana, moved through the Blue region. We've had a number of tornado warnings, the most significant being up toward Owen and Gallatin counties, and we had a number of reports of funnel clouds and a possible tornado in Montgomery County. They'll be probably doing a site survey, and boy, we're not the only ones dealing with it as well. You go over to parts of Virginia, the mid-Atlantic, even into the Northeast, and they've got some big storms, so a big chunk of real estate dealing with severe weather. Now, to that end, here you go. You see the severe thunderstorm watch has already been canceled for the Lexington area. So you can sound the all clear, Lexington, Georgetown, Frankfort, Winchester, Nicholasville, northward. I think once these storms across southern Kentucky get clear, we're in good shape. The other part of this, especially down south, is the flood potential. We've got a number of flash flood warnings here in the Bluegrass, down south. They will probably end up dropping this early, but it goes until midnight. Out in the east until 2 a.m. Again, I do expect things to settle down somewhat. This was the latest update, which was about 11:30 this morning, and kudos to the Storm Prediction Center because they kind of nailed it as far as where the most favorable area was. Level 3 out of 5. Damaging winds, check. A few tornadoes, check. Some hail, you can check that as well. Here's a live look, Hicks and Funson Cam, Lexington. Things are quieting down finally. We got overcast conditions, and we're a nice, cool, but kind of muggy 73 because the front has yet to move through. But look at the difference in temperatures. Now, ironically, Williamstown's recovered because I think the sun may have come out a bit, and that's why I think that we may end up seeing a couple of pop-up storms as we go through the remainder of the evening because the front is still hanging along the Ohio River and there's still some warm, moist air, even though we've kind of stabilized things a bit. But down here across southern southeast Kentucky, we're not seeing any kind of push of cooler air yet. It's still muggy, so there's still some moisture out there, so the end result will be the potential of, again, some additional storms. But where it is yet to rain, and that's why the wind threat is still so high. I mean, look at the heat index, 94 in Somerset, even with some clouds and some big storms on your doorstep. Monticello feeling like 100. Again, big picture here. There's your front right along the Ohio River. And Doug has given kudos on the analogy, but just think of a big giant squeegee that you just sweep all the water off of the floor. Well, that's what this front is going to do relative to the atmosphere. It's going to take all the heat and humidity that we have dealt with the last few weeks and just sweep it out of the area. As we get later in the evening and the overnight, the front will be hanging down south. There could be a few little isolated cells during the overnight, but I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Going to start out in the mid to upper 60s in the morning, and then tomorrow afternoon, I think we'll get into some sunshine, but ironically, there may be a little secondary boundary that pushes some cloudiness in here late tomorrow afternoon. Still upper 70s to around 80. Winds out of the north. This is the key graphic. Look at where we are basically right now. Look at where we are headed Thursday into early Friday. When's the last time we've been in the comfy zone with the muggy cast? Weeks, if not months. Now, won't last long, but take every bit of it that we can get. High pressure building in, nice cooler Canadian high pressure. So yeah, we're talking upper 70s to low 80s for afternoon highs Thursday and into the day on Friday. Temperature trend, there you go, below average, but by the upcoming weekend, We're going to start to increase the moisture. May see a low-end chance as we get into Saturday, but overall, I think it's going to be very isolated. There's some upper-level energy, and that may squeeze out a shower or two Saturday. Other than that, yeah, warm, yeah, a little muggy as well, but overall, we're in pretty good shape. Let me get through the forecast and then hold that thought, and we'll see where we are. Partly cloudy, few storms south. Later on, mild, less humid with a few clouds late. And of course, the all-important 7-day forecast, we're kind of out of this as far as that's concerned with the active weather as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, before we let you go, we're not going to, because now we have another update to get you to. So I'm going to take a hot second here and get back to the radar and let you know about a new tornado warning that we have.
Coming from
Angie, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, Pulaski and Rockcastle County line. There's some rotation that we're watching there. So that there is a new tornado warning that's going to be issued for that here in just a moment. That goes until 7:15 p.m.
Okay, so again, it's one of these things, one of these marathon days where we just kind of stick with it and go along with everything happening here. I think my my hand tracker wants to be a little hokey, so we'll give it a quick second here and get reset. So where's the tornado warning again?
We're looking at Pulaski and Rockcastle County line.
All right, so there is our new tornado warning, which goes until 7:15, as Angie mentioned.
And it looks like they're going to extend it into Laurel County.
Yeah, and it has been already. So tornado warning, Laurel County. It does include the city of London. Now, obviously, Corbin is in the Tri-County area there with Whitley, Knox, and Laurel County. You're not in it, but London is, and ironically, Somerset is not. You're just under severe thunderstorm warning. It's this area that's kind of fanning down that we've got the potential of damaging winds, but tornado warning Laurel County and Pulaski County. And I guess the irony here is a lot of the potential rotation is out there in the Daniel Boone National Forest, of course, which was laid down by the strong tornado back in May of last year. It's out here into eastern Pulaski County, not talking about anything like that relative to this go-around, but we'll go in a little bit closer and take a look at some of the what's going on. Again, it's one of these days, unfortunately, where the newscasts, the national news, I know there are other means online and whatnot to check that out. And of course, we'll have a complete update on the entire weather picture and all the news of the day coming up on LEX News on ABC 36 at 11. But just given the fact that we have these continued tornado warnings popping up, it's just necessitated us staying with it and keeping you safe, protecting life and property as we always do. So Viper radar again showing, and I really think it's probably going to be, yeah, in this area right here. And you can almost see it on the reflectivity. We've brought this up as the thing fans out, where you see this little notch right here in the area, you've got clean storm energy and warm, moist, and unstable air just kind of feeding in. And where you see that little kink there, that is roughly, I didn't mean to do that, I meant to actually clear it off, and then we'll go back here. That's where that possible rotation is. I'll zoom in a little bit closer. It looks like it is off to the southeast of Shopville, leading edge of the very intense winds right over Ruth right now. But looking at our rotation detector, now I will say nothing is jumping out, and this is out of the Jackson radar, the correct radar, but it's, again, the velocity data, which we have on a number of occasions. I think it's pretty broad, but it's right here in this area, the reds and the greens side by side, and I think a lot of that is being driven by the fact that we've got that little bit of a notch right here in this area, south of Kentucky 80 and off to the northeast of Ruth. And all this area right here, south from Kentucky 80, that's all the Daniel Boone National Forest out here in rural Pulaski County into western Laurel. And if you remember, all those trees got knocked down with that intense tornado a year again this past May. So luckily, there's not a lot of folks as far as populated areas out there. Billings, you're in the rain and the lightning already. But nevertheless, the Weather Service, again, kind of playing safe, just given the orientation of this cluster as it moves to the southeast, the fact that that leading edge, again, pretty intense, 60, 65, maybe even upwards of 70-mile-per-hour winds. And that's probably the area where we're looking at a little bit of rotation.
We're also putting eyes just east of Rowan and Morgan County and Elliott County for some spin up. So there's nothing been issued, but we're keeping our eyes on that.
And that's kind of getting out to the fringe area on the view. It's this cell right here while we're taking a look at it. Yeah, so Sandy Hook, and this gets more so over into Huntington and Charleston's area along the US 23 corridor. So that cell's kind of broken off, and it's, you know, on its own as well. So that's part of the problem. You got some heavier rain there south of Moorhead, basically over part of Cave Run Lake, but good to see the break in the action here along the I-64 corridor. Lexington, we're good. We've got flash flood warnings. Lawrenceburg, Anderson County, Harrisburg, Danville, Lancaster, all in it, and then just some general rain and storms. Do want to take a look at the cell that is coming. It looks like it's heading more so down, I believe is that Monroe County, I think it is. No, Metcalfe County. Down toward Edmonton. I was going to take a look at Louisville's radar and take a little better look at it. Yeah, you see what's happening with it just because Columbia is on the southwestern fringe, again, of our viewing area, and you see take the lightning data off the mesocone there. They got some pretty decent rotation probably. I think with that cell, the BTI is a 2 on that, but that bears watching because it could eventually sneak over south of Columbia and maybe over toward Russell Springs, Jamestown, and then maybe even over toward Monticello. So just given how these are kind of moving that direction and they've kind of been fanning out as they move off to the east and southeast, well, I'll have to keep an eye on that one going forward. But I do want to jump back here to kind of the task at hand, which of course is the ongoing tornado warning for Pulaski. Also, a little small part, I think the small part of Rockcastle County in there, this goes until 7:15. So we got about 25 minutes on that as well. Anything in the chat, Angie, of substance? Any reports, storm reports, whatnot, even from earlier?
Not so much in our viewing area. We've got some in Taylor County, which is just outside of
Well, that's kind of on our, Campbellsville, that's on our fringe.
Yeah, there's, you know, down trees, power lines, obviously a lot of wind damage that's affected those areas, as I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the next coming hours and tomorrow when the National Weather Service gets out there and surveys everything. But yeah, right now it's mainly just wind damage that we're seeing.
Okay, so you see a little bit of shear here with our rotation detector, not a whole lot, and just for whatever reason that jumped back to the back when we were tracking things there in Mount Sterling and Montgomery County. And what I want to do is I'm going to take another look at the velocity data here, and if this is basically continues to be radar indicated, we'll probably take a little break here and let you catch the second half of David Muir here, since it's pretty broad, and again, it's heading into a fairly rural area, again, out here, Daniel Boone National Forest, a lot of forest area, not a lot of population until it gets over toward Obviously, London, Pine Grove, Lilly, that area that was impacted here back a year ago in May. So right now, again, the rotation is very, very broad. They haven't said anything relative to
No,
it
there's
at
no
all.
updates with that. They just said that they were watching it, but
Yeah, so they're going to keep an eye on it. So again, if you're in, broaden this out so I can clear this off here. Sometimes when we zoom in so close, it's a little difficult off. So if you're in London, Western Laurel County, eastern parts of Pulaski County, you got a tornado warning for about another 35 minutes. Greater concern is the leading edge here, which could produce some wind gusts in excess of 60 to 65 miles per hour. The rest of this into eastern Kentucky looking a little bit better. It seems to have weakened, not to say that it couldn't intensify a bit, but I think the area of greatest concern is going to be the London-Corbin area over toward Manchester and down toward Barberville. So we're going to take a break, regroup, let you catch the rest of ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, which goes until the top of the hour. If we have any confirmation, the crawl will continue to run at the bottom of your screen with all the ongoing warnings that we have across the area, and we'll break back in if we get any confirmation on any funnel clouds, potential touchdowns, but definitely be in your safe place in eastern Pulaski County, western Laurel County, with a possible tornado and the potential for some straight line wind damage as well. Keep it here on LEX News, ABC 36. We'll keep it posted. For meteorologist Angie Regal, I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck. I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck. Wanted to update you again on the severe weather situation that is ongoing across southern Kentucky. We left you about 20 minutes ago. The rotation with the tornado for parts of eastern Pulaski and into western sections of Laurel County until 7:15 was pretty broad, but you notice here on our Viper radar that our shear marker has reappeared, and that's an indication that we have seen the thing tighten up just a little bit. So we wanted to come back on and assume that they would issue a new tornado warning, which right on cue they have, just given the fact that that's happened. You could just see the red polygon pop back in. So it looks like a new tornado warning now out for Laurel County until 7:30, and it includes parts of Knox County as well. Now, the city of Corbin not in it, but London is here. But again, our shear marker indicating, again, the potential of some possible rotation. And in fact, our rotation detector, this is the first time that it's actually shown some decent green in a concise area. It was negligible earlier, and in fact our storm data, our SCIT data here indicating the BTI, that's a Banner Tornado Index, goes from 1 to 10, 1 being the weakest, 10 being the strongest. It's about a 4.2. It's about mid-range, but here are some of the areas that'll be potentially impacted. They disappeared as the SCIT data went away, but you see with our rotation detector, we do have some moderate rotation just west of the I-75 corridor, and unfortunately, ironically, this is the exact same area that had to deal with the devastating tornado a year ago, May, when we had the strong tornado move right across the south side of London. Nothing like that in this particular case, but you look at the velocity data, which shows you what the radar is doing relative to the radar site. We actually skip back, so we'll kind of reset things here. I want to go in a little bit closer here and again show you the velocity data, the shear marker showing that rotation coming up on the I-75 corridor here, and again the velocity data tightened up a little bit. It shows us what relative to the radar site. So you see on the legend here, anything in green is going toward the radar site, which is back here to our northeast over Jackson. Anything in red is going away from the radar site. So if you get those side by side, and it's bright and it is relatively tight, just like it is there in the Pine Grove area, right along I-75. And again, the irony of it, it is the exact same area that had the majority of the damage from the tornado a year ago in May. Not saying this is anything like that at all, but again, the irony not lost on the fact that it is impacting the exact same area. So if you're on the south side of London here, Sublimity City, the London Corbin Airport, Fairstown, eventually over toward Levi Jackson State Park, south side of London, you're coming up just south of exit 38. It's roughly a mile marker 35 and 36 on I-75. That's the area there where this, again, rotation, which has prompted the tornado warning for Laurel County and parts of Knox County for about 25 minutes. That's where it is going to move through. So if you're in any of those areas, Lebus, Brock, Fairstown, even down, of course, a little bit farther to the south, down US 25 toward Lilly, Keavy, it's off to your northeast here. Tuttle over toward Bush Elementary there, just south of the Hal Rogers Parkway. Definitely some school visits there during the course of the years. You need to be in a safe place. Go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, an interior room, the lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom. You want to be away from exterior window. Cover yourself, pillows, blankets, protect yourself from the potential of any flying debris. If you got a bicycle helmet, baseball helmet, anything to protect your head, no matter whether it's a potential weak tornado or a strong tornado. Social science has done studies that, of course, many of the injuries and sometimes fatalities in tornadoes happen due to head injuries and head trauma. So that should be part of your safety kit now, something to generally protect your head. And again, a lot of folks have bicycle helmets or motorcycle helmets, whatnot. Checking the radar reflectivity. Again, we got some very heavy rain, a good bit of lightning strikes. The leading edge of this, which is, again, now down south of Keavy and Lilly, more so on the north side of Laurel Lake. It's eventually going to get down toward Gray in Knox County, Woolham in Knox County as well, over toward Manchester. But within the tornado warning polygon here, right over I-75 at about mile marker 35 to 36. This possible tornado and the rotation, again, looking at our shear marker here, that's the algorithm with our radar data that shows where the possible rotation is. And it usually doesn't show up, that shear marker, unless we're dealing with some decent rotation. And looking at our rotation detector, you see that bit of green right there in the Pine Grove area, near Sublimity City, right across the interstate from it, near the London Corbin Airport. Again, the very same area that had some problems back a year ago, May, as far as the debris detector. That's just a little bit of spike in the data there, not seeing anything jumping out, but just the fact that it did look like it got its act together a little more efficiently a little while ago. That was one of the reasons that we decided to obviously break back into programming and assume that they would probably extend that tornado warning that was originally out for parts of eastern Pulaski and western Laurel to include more of central Laurel and into the western sections of Knox County, and even let's see if it's no, it's not up into Clay County. I thought it might just clip a small little part. Yeah, it does. It's just over the border there. You can see the black line there. Again, right around Bush Elementary there, running just south of the Hal Rogers Parkway. So it's a very, very small part there. But again, some decent green and red side by side. That indicates to us that the winds are going opposite directions relative to the radar site. Remember, the radar is at the ground, the beam's aloft, so it's shooting up into the storm. But the fact that we have our shear marker, again, that's a pretty good indication. I think that that we are, in fact, seeing, again, some broad rotation with that, and something we're really going to have to keep an eye on. So be in your safe place. Basement is best. Don't have a basement. Remember, go down, not up. Lowest level of your home, interior room. protect yourself from the potential of flying debris. You want to put as much distance between yourself and the outside world here. Again, very, very active afternoon. And we really have spent several hours on air this afternoon tracking these to severe storms as they initially moved across central Kentucky, and now they are in our southern counties. Some other areas of southeastern Kentucky, just heard from my cousin that lives in Hazard. She said it looked very dark and ominous in the distance, and that stands to reason. Just given the fact that we've got some pretty healthy storms there. Again, I've taken the lightning data off because sometimes that kind of covers up some of the data. But you got a few lightning strikes. I think some gusty winds. Obviously, no warnings. This part of the line out into eastern Kentucky seems to have weakened somewhat here. Now, as you go a little bit farther to the northeast, up in toward Prestonsburg along the US 23 corridor, again, just some general storms. Now, this storm that is coming out of Elliott County and into Lawrence County around Louisa, that's just out of our viewing area, it has a shear marker and some possible rotation and a tornado warning with that. And that's going to impact areas along the Kentucky, West Virginia border and eventually move into western West Virginia here shortly. But again, that's out in far, far eastern Kentucky here. Looking back here in the bluegrass, again, we can kind of sound the all clear here in Lexington. The severe thunderstorm watch has been dropped early because of the heavier amounts of rain that we had. Flash flood warning there for Anderson County, also Harrodsburg, parts of Mercer County, northern Boyle, and the northern part of Garrett County. That goes for a few more hours as well. I do want to point out that along the frontal system, which is now draped across northern Kentucky, notice a little bit of redevelopment. This is going to be garden variety rain, maybe a few thunderstorms. Temperatures did manage to recover back into the low 80s after some of those storms around Williamstown earlier. But again, I think the big story is going to be front and center down here into extreme southern Kentucky. Somerset seeing some heavy rain, and because of that and a lot of the rain that we have seen lately, northern, central and northern Pulaski County, you got a flash flood warning going until 9:45. And then these cells, this cell has been potentially tornadic, which is out of the viewing area. It's going to pass by to the southwest of Columbia. It looks like it's eventually going to head close to Clinton County, Albany, but more so over toward Cumberland County, I believe there. Yeah, they got a tornado warning there, and toward Tompkinsville there in Monroe County, again, out of our viewing area. But our storm to watch here, again, is moving and has now moved across the I-75 corridor, and it is now on the south side of London. The leading edge, of course, where we could have the of some wind gusts in excess of say 65, even 70 miles per hour, that is about to hit the north side of Corbin. So down around exit 29 and then down toward exit 25 on Interstate 75 there at Corbin. That wind is going to come rushing your way, and then eventually as you crawl down US 25 within the next, say, 10, 15 minutes, down toward Gray there in the western and northwestern part of Knox County, you're going to see some pretty strong winds as well. The rain has reached the Bush area there along the Laurel and Clay County line, raining heavily in London, heavily Keavy, Lilly, north side of Laurel Lake. Hopefully nobody out on the lake. We talked about that a little while ago. Also some of the other lakes in the area. It was actually before the storms. Pretty good afternoon for it, but not time to be out on the lake with some pretty intense winds and a good bit of lightning, although overall the lightning data looks to be diminishing. Hopefully that is an indication that some of this is beginning to weaken out, but still have concerns with the potential for some wind damage, where we do have severe thunderstorm warnings that include Corbin. Now, Corbin proper, not in the tornado warning that goes until severe thunder warning that goes until 7:15. I highly suspect Weather Service will probably kick out a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of northern Lee County, say western parts of Knox County, as this fans out to the south, considering obviously Corbin, is right there in the Tri-County area with Laurel, Whitley, and Knox County. Williamsburg, you still ways to go. Rockhold, Young Creek, dry for now, and the activity still pretty intense. North side of the lake there, Burnside, Nancy along the Cumberland Parkway. South of that, some pretty heavy rain over the lake right now. And I mentioned that flash flood warning that goes until 9:45 for parts of Pulaski County, central and northern Pulaski County. So let's look at the shear here with the tornado storm. It's right there just to the north of Lilly along US 25. So it's past Interstate 75 and it is just to the south of London, on the south side of London. So it's going to eventually run out toward Tuttle and again south of Bush. The storm winds, it is relatively, again, broadening it out. As we've alluded to, just follow the legend there. The radar site is back here to the northwest in Jackson. So anything in green that is going toward the radar site there in Jackson, anything in red is going away. So when you get those side by side, now when they're brighter and also they're kind of closer together and the entire circulation is a bit tighter, even though it's shooting, because the radar and the beam is aloft, even though it's shooting in the storm, sometimes a few feet, depending on the distance away from the radar, that can still give you an indication you got a decent little updraft going and you may have the potential of seeing a tornado. But I think overall, it's pretty broad. It's not as intense as it was, say, 15 minutes ago when we had our shear marker picking out, again, that shear, which was much more distinct. But that's not to say let your guard down. Gray, Tuttle, the Bush area there. So we're really, with the rotation, past I-75, right over US 25 of London that runs down through Lilly and on the north side of Corbin. And then eventually you get out into eastern Laurel, and then you sneak into the western part of Knox County, that is, not Knott County. And with the updated velocity data, let's take a look at the shear and see completely. So it may be one of those cases of where it kind of spun up or cycled up a bit, because of course you have to remember you're dealing with an area that was very warm and pretty unstable for much of the afternoon. I mean, we had dew point temperatures down in this area in the upper 70s earlier. That's like having South Florida weather here in central and southern Kentucky this time of the year. So lots of available moisture. Of course, the front in northern Kentucky, that is providing the lift as well. And the end result of that has been a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, a number of flash flood warnings, and also a number of tornado warnings. The most distinct that we've had so far, home destroyed near Gallatin, Owen County line as the storms initially got going up toward the I-71 corridor close to the Kentucky Speedway. And then for much of the time when we would have been doing the 5:30, 6 p.m. newscast, we were tracking a cell that was dropping funnel clouds. And looking at some of the video from the National Weather Service out of Jackson, looks like we did have at least a brief touchdown in Montgomery County based on the video that they posted in the weather chat. You can see a little bit of debris being lofted with that. So they'll go up there tomorrow and do a site survey, but highly suspect, if anything, that may end up being a little EF0, maybe EF1 tornado, depending on the damage that they find. But we were getting ground truth also confirming what the radar was indicating with the rotation. So one of those storm systems and particular cells that we had to really zoom in on and stick with as we went through that 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. hour, just due to the fact what we were getting as far as information and what the radar was indicating. So the heaviest rain has arrived in Corbin. Strongest winds, again, have reached exit 29, but they have still to reach downtown Corbin and exit 25 along Interstate 75. That's going to be happening next probably minute or two as this thing fans out to the south. Gray there in northwestern Knox County. It is on your doorstep. Tuttle's on top of you. Same thing for Bush. Again, looking at our rotation detector, not picking up on anything distinct. In fact, just to show you the difference here, let's take you back 30 minutes here and see if you can see the rotation. And of course, it'll show the warning as well, but kind of see if I can move the banner there. Yeah, see if we can get rid of it completely. So this is the last 30 minutes. So this is what prompted the ongoing tornado warning, which goes for about another 10 minutes. As it moved out of Pulaski County and into western Laurel County, look at how our rotation detector really intensified and the shear marker showed up. And again, that's the algorithm with the radar data that really gives us kind of a heads up to, hey, this thing's getting its act together and really starting to show some signs of rotation. And the end result of that was the tornado warning being extended to include London and areas off to the east and southeast of London, into southeastern Laurel County and into the northwestern part of Knox County and just a small part of Clay County as well. So kind of taking it back to where we are now. Again, the rotation detector not really showing anything relative to that. And when you look at the storm relative velocity, those things are not side by side at all. They're very broad. And I think generally speaking, it's probably cycling down. Angie, have you heard anything on the chat at all?
Yes, I'll look through it and give you an update.
You're fine. Sorry. Everything's done on the fly here, and sorry, we're getting our...
We're refreshing.
No, we're trying to refresh. I got to get my glasses. I can't see. So, again, the rotating there in southeastern Kentucky, there across parts of Laurel County and into Knox County. Still ongoing here. I may be locked out of this thing now because it's not seeing me, or yeah, I can't get in. So anyway, we again continuing to track this across southeastern Kentucky. I'm going to take a look at the chat real quick here while we're at it. Got some additional urban flooding. They're going to expire the tornado warning for Laurel County. So that's what we were kind of hoping for and looking for. So the broad rotation, again, that we've had with this cell now, it looks like it's kind of winning out. Go back to radar here before we take you back to regular programming. So far, they have not extended the severe thunderstorm warning or extended a severe thunderstorm warning down into Knox, Whitley, Bell County, or Clay County yet. They may do that, but generally speaking, just looking at this stuff on the radar, it still has some decent lightning in it. Notice the lack of it around Hazard, but the cell that prompted the tornado warning, which again, they are going to allow to expire at 7:30, it's still got some decent lightning on Somerset. But overall, look at the picture, definitely like the weakening trend. We'll continue to keep you posted. The crawl will run continuously at the bottom of your screen, especially with any additional severe thunderstorm warnings and with the ongoing flash flood warnings that will continue until probably mid to late evening, depending on location. Keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully we don't have to come back in for another tornado warning, and we can get this stuff through the rest of southeastern Kentucky without any issues. But again, the tornado warning got about 6 minutes left on it, but they're going to allow that to expire. But definitely Barberville and running along the Hal Rogers Parkway, do expect some intense rain, a lot of lightning, and some very, very strong winds here in the interim. Again, for meteorologist Angie Regal, I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck. Back to regular programming, and we'll see you hopefully later on LAX News on ABC 36 coming up tonight at 11.